needs to be on guard, because if it was Venezuela yesterday, it could be anywhere tomorrow.
That's Defence Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez calling for the US to return Nicolas Maduro. There's no sign the Americans intend to do that. A court hearing for drugs charges expected later. The former pupil in the British school's been confirmed as one of the 40 people killed in fire at a Swiss bar on New Year's Eve. Charlotte Niddon was among the last 16 victims to be identified. People attended a mass for the victims in Montana yesterday.
When I have 15, I used to go there too, so it could be us. It's a quiet little ski village. I mean, usually there's lots of life, you know, so this year at Christmas, we just wanted to come back.
Two people running the bar are under investigation. From today, migrants arriving in small boats can have their phones and SIM cards seized and don't have to be arrested for that to happen. Ministers hope downloading data at processing centres will help track smugglers and speed up investigations into channel crossings. Heavy snow continues across parts of northern and northeast Scotland, with an amber warning in force. Travel disruptions likely, with flights and schools affected. Sport and Manchester City are now 6 points off the pace in the Premier League title race after conceding late in a 1-1 draw with Chelsea. Fulham and Liverpool drew 2-2 at Craven Cottage, while Newcastle beat Crystal Palace 2-0. And Australia's cricketers are continuing to make ground on the second day of the final Ashes Test in Sydney. A short time ago, the hosts were 161 for 1. Jason Gannon wins the first innings total of 384. Australia have already returned to the urn. That's the latest. I'm Bev.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very, very good morning to you. Welcome along. Yes, it is the brand new Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on the home of Common Sense. And more importantly, my friends, as we enter a new year, it is, of course, as ever, the home of Alarm Clock Britain. This is your show. This is your station. It's where you come to talk. Common sense prevails. And as ever, Happy New Year. It's freezing cold. The world is as messed up as it was 14 years ago or even days ago. Hope you had a great time. We'll get it on with loads and loads of guests. And well, let's do what we always do and talk about what's happening in the good old world. Sorry to break some bad news. Let's drop the music because I think this calls for a moment of serenity, Legend. I'm sorry to break the bad news, but Keir Starmer has insisted, after his New Year's Eve message, that he will be Prime Minister next year. Devastating news. He acknowledged that it's harder than it should be for Brits. Really? I think that's down to you because you've messed it up so much. He promised that we will feel a real sense of hope. We'll feel a real sense of everything will be fine in the weeks and months there. Do you believe him, or is it me? Sorry, just waking up this morning, alarm clock, Brits, in your van, getting the kids to up and toast done and get to school and all that, thinking, how the hell am I going to do this again? Do you believe a word that comes out of Sir Keir Starmer's mouth? I mean, before we talk about how his own party are trying to replace him, what do you think as the British electorate? Alarm clock Britain. He says, I will still be here in 12 months. God, is it going to be that bad? As ever, if you want to be on the show, 0344 499 1000. Only number you need. You can text throughout the show, 87222. We like the voice notes. Christian is back. He's got a new haircut and a new jumper for the new year. He's got his new jumper on, his Christmas jumper. So get him a voice note nice and early, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. There's so much to talk about with Starmer. I mean, you'll have seen what happened in Venezuela. We'll be talking about that this morning. Trump. I mean, whether you are against it or for it, the Labour Party is in meltdown because most of the left is tearing itself apart. Sakir has refused to sort of describe the capture of Maduro as an illegal act in breach of international law. Now, bearing in mind this man is all about international law, and even Nigel Farage says, in essence, it could be breaking international law, whatever your feelings about it, he's in an even bigger pickle with his own party. The vultures are approaching Keir Starmer. He says it'll get better. We say it'll be gone by May. What do you make of it? 0344 499 1000. Add to that, he's freely admitted that he's going to betray us over Brexit, right? He said he wanted to pursue even closer alignment with a single market. So everything we voted for, the 52%, that's Poppy Coburn blowing her nose. It's a Monday morning. No, it's great. I love it. I'm sorry. She's come from Japan. She's come a long way. Look at her, look. Say morning, hello. It's a great start. So there we have it. Keir Starmer, not even told by Donald Trump. There's a great article in The Sun this morning by Rod Liddell who says, can you imagine in the Situation Room in America, in the White House, Mr. President, we're ready to go. Stop. Wait. I haven't spoken to Sir Keir Starmer. Don't worry about him. He's in his Mr. Men pyjamas in Downing Street. It's a great article. We'll try and speak to Rod later on about that. But yeah, Keir Starmer, under pressure from his own MPs, completely ignored on the international stage by Donald Trump. He's going to betray us over Brexit. But he tells you, ladies and gentlemen, that things can only get better. 0344 499 1000. Of course, you're waking up to freezing cold Britain. Ice, snow, roads and rails. As ever, this country will be plunged into chaos. Leaves have gone and now we're into snow and ice. I'd love to know, by the way, this morning how bad it is where you are, if you've got snow. My kids are desperate for snow on the south coast. Haven't seen any. Phone us up. Where are you? Where are you listening? Where are you watching? How bad is it with you? Loads of surprises along the way. But in essence, the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show is the same as we've always done on Talk. This is your show, your station, your chance to speak in an open forum. 0344 499 1000. Happy New Year to the woman who went to Japan and came back with a cold. Poppy Coburn, how are you?
Happy morning. I haven't got a cold. I'm just actually cold. I think the short journey from my house to the studio, having to deal with the -8 degrees it felt like.
Now this is going to make me feel like an old man and sound like one, right? I actually like it when it's not raining and it's a bitter cold morning. I'm fine. Wrap up. Do you not think the sun? No, I don't mind it.
No, I want global warming. I want to walk outside and I want to feel like I'm in Dubai. Sorry.
Really? So you don't care about the climate? You don't care about Friends of the Earth?
Oh, just imagine the English Riviera. It'd be lovely.
How was Japan, mate? I've got to ask you. Never been.
It was absolutely fantastic. I really recommend to people that are thinking about it. The flights are excruciatingly expensive, but when you get there,
you didn't pay there, did you?
Cheapest chips. No, my boyfriend did.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we love. A modern woman. I said to her, "Are you going to Japan?" She went, "Yeah, I want to go. He's paying." That's it. Good. Where do we start? Let's start with the Mail, page 4, if we can, please, Poppy. PM says leadership challenge is not in the national interest. We'll play the clip. This is on Laura Kunsberg yesterday. He says that he will be Prime Minister next year. Wherever you are listening, this is his guarantee to you. Have a listen, have a watch.
I'll be sitting in this seat by 2027, and if this long-form interview works, we can try it again in January of next year as well. I am looking forward to 2026. I'm optimistic about turning the corner, which is good. It's good for the country.
It's good for the country that he's going to stay. Poppy Coburn.
I mean, I think you've got to a real low where you're having to start bargaining with the fact that, no, actually, the person that will come after me will be even more hated than I am currently. I mean, it's rubbish, isn't it? This is precisely why he's so bad, because he can't talk like a normal person and he can't communicate. I am actually now coming around to the idea, as much as I hate the lot of them, that Keir Starmer is uniquely terrible as Prime Minister. I mean, it is. You've got to think about, it's not been a long time since he won that massive majority. Yes, it was shallow, but still, it was a massive majority. That is not an easy thing to do. Trust me, people in politics would have killed for something like that. How quickly he turned that from being like, OK, let's give him a shot. We've been with the Tories for 15 years. Let's try this new guy out. Let's see what he's got to say to, I hate this man so much. He has destroyed everything. He's destroyed my business. He's destroyed my livelihood. He's taken the country in the wrong direction. I feel poorer. Is just remarkable.
To me, it's extraordinary, as you said, that you can go from being victorious in 16 months to that disastrous. I don't think he was ever equipped to do it. That hindsight's great. But more than anything, it does add power to the argument that he didn't really win it, did he? The Tories lost it. And what should frighten people, and I'm with you, I think Starmer is incapable in many areas, but he won't come on and talk about it on this station. We've asked the Labour Party, we want the Labour Party to come on, we want to be able to question them, but still nothing from them. But here's the point, right? he is, and this is for me the scariest thing. What could come afterwards is even worse. Yeah. Imagine Miliband, imagine that net zero madness, imagine Angela Rayner, imagine Andy Burnham, imagine all those people. But he is utterly ill-equipped, and we are, you know, the thing about, you know, working people, no. International reputation, no. Low taxation, no. It's been a disaster, hasn't it? A complete disaster.
The thing about prime ministers who lose popularity within their own party, which is very much true of Sir Keir, they actually can't get that much done, even if they have big majorities, because their MPs are constantly like threatening to rebel. They're kind of lame ducks. Now, if you hate the Labour government and you don't want them to do Labour government things, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have Keir Starmer in charge, because he's just going to be flailing about, not being able to do anything for the next couple of years. If you get someone like Miliband in, who is beloved of the party, who is highly ideological and frankly is quite competent, then you need to be
Is
worried.
he competent?
He is. Within his own department, he's competently destroying the country. That's my take on it. I mean, this is what's going to happen if we get someone new in. If you've got someone like Angela Rayner, this is someone who is incredibly ideological and who a lot of people in the Labour Party are going to go, great, now we can actually do the radical things we wanted to do. Keir Starmer was just like the starter. Now we're ready for the main
I remember
course.
saying during the election, everybody laughed at me, that he promised so much to so many different people. There were so many people that he owed that he was never ever going to be able to go with anything. Just don't think he's a conviction politician. You and I have wound him up already. Welcome to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show that seems to be going across the world. Hello to Dimitri in Cyprus. Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Poppy. Good luck. It's very nice here. I don't want to know that. Hello to Ruth in Sydney in Australia. One eye on the cricket, one eye on you and the lovely Poppy. Good luck with the new show. It's very warm here. Not interested. Mark in Croydon can't say the same. Morning, Jez. Congrats on the show. I'm with Poppy on this one. Bring on the global warming and warm sunny days in the UK. It even snowed in Croydon, which has stopped the hoodies hanging out. So knife crime's gone down for 24 hours. You see, there are some benefits from global warming, aren't there?
Yeah.
I can't believe you don't like it. Chilly, frosty mornings.
Actually, I honestly don't understand it. I don't mind a bit of snow for 10 minutes from the warmth of my house. But anything else, I can't stand it. I love the summertime.
Do you not sleep with the window open and fresh air and all that rubbish?
Fresh air, I think I'd freeze in my sleep if I slept with the window open at the moment.
Soft as anything.
Heating's fully on.
Great. 12 minutes past 6. The Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show is the home of working Brits and, of course, alarm clock Britain. That's the most important thing. If you're waking up, wherever you are today, join in the debate. We're talking already that Keir Starmer says, I will be the leader in 12 months' time. Not many of you agreeing with that. So much to talk about in terms of what's happened in the last couple of days. Let's talk about Maduro. I mean, I don't know. When I say I don't know where I stand, I sort of know where I stand. Has it broken international law? Possibly. I'd love to know the reasons behind it. But again, I'm going to go with on the Mail front page. PM faces revolt by Labour's Maduro apologist. Labour was tearing itself apart last night. Don't forget, of course, that Jeremy Corbyn and all those left-wing nutters loved Chavez when he ran Venezuela. They always made a big thing about Hugo Chavez and everything, and Maduro replaced him. The man was a dictator, a horrible despot. Donald Trump right to go in and do that? What are the reasons for it?
Well, I think the stated reasons from the Americans have been so far wrong, or at least inaccurate of what their true desires have been. So the drug trafficking stuff is kind of nonsense. Yes, some cocaine is coming out of Venezuela. It is not the main fentanyl trafficker that's coming from South America, which is the thing they constantly talk about. So we could just discount that. The narco-terrorism thing is a load of rubbish. The stuff about oil that Trump kept speaking about at the press conference might be true, but the US is actually a net exporter of oil. It doesn't need Venezuelan oil either. It's not very high quality compared to the stuff they're getting from fracking. I actually think the reason he did it is for two reasons. One, it shows China we are willing to intervene and we're strong. And look how competent our military is. We can do a surgical strike. It's not just like bombing people like Soleimani as they did in Iran. So we can actually remove a leader from a hostile country, bring them here, humiliate them, and do it without a single American casualty. Like, we are strong and we are powerful. And the second one, I think, is basically just saying that, like, you can't stop me. International law, this stuff means nothing to me. Like, I'm the American president. I'm the seat of power. I do think it's a bit of a kind of, you know, showing off exercise.
Well, there's a great tweet actually from the White House, if we can put that up. I haven't actually seen this, but there's a tweet from the White House, sort of really proud about the Maduro arrest. Can we put that up for us?
Venga por mí!
Last night, on the order of the President of the United States,
Aquí lo esperan Miraflores!
and in support of a request from the Department of Justice,
No se tarde en llegar!
the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro.
¡Cobarde!
Nicolas Maduro had his chance until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well.
Wow. Now, this is a man you should take seriously. Front page of the Daily Telegraph, your newspaper. Trump sets his sights on Greenland. So he's going to invade Greenland next.
I mean, that really would be awful, and I would absolutely not support that. But look, a lot of people have been mulling about international law. America has never supported international law.
No.
The whole framework of international law was supposed to be girded by American military might. But whenever it was inconvenient for them to actually follow international law, they've always broken it. I mean, look at the invasion of Iraq. The flimsiest of pretexts. They said it was a UN-backed operation. Was it heck? I mean, it was American power with British military support and a few other countries sending a few camels along. You know, America is very, very, very happy to bend the rules when it suits them. This is nothing new. What's different is Trump does things in a very bombastic way. But what I really think is the takeaway from this is frankly how effective this operation was.
Yep.
I mean, I was looking at the build-up to Venezuela. I was very critical. I thought, you know, the American people did not vote for more military interventions. This is not strategic interest for them. It's just Venezuela. Like, obviously, he's an awful person. He's a horrible, horrible dictator. But there's a hell of a lot of those in the world.
Yep.
Like, why this guy, right? But because it was so surgical, because it was carried out in a way that was so effective, it's interesting. And another aspect on this I haven't seen really discussed in British media, he's now saying to Venezuelans that are in the US, because millions of them came to the US during the Biden years, right, because they were fleeing the country, they were fleeing Jury's rule. He's now said, go back. We will rebuild your country, but you've got to go home. So it's fascinating, right?
It is fascinating. Literally, I mean, I want to bring it to Starmer, but Richard Littlejohn in the Mail says if only Starmer would have shown such ruthlessness. Andrew Neil says Emperor Trump's ambition should terrify Greenland. Stephen Glover says this will only embolden the world's bullies. But let's talk about Keir Starmer, my favourite subject. PM faces revolt by Labour Maduro apologists.
It's amazing.
I mean, that's another thing. So forget the fact his own party hate him because he's incompetent. Now the left are going to basically say, which I listened to Diane Abbott yesterday. I'm not saying she's lying. And she says, for a man who's based his entire career on international law and this, you know, it's right, yeah, fine. Why are you saying that this is why you're not standing up to America then, Keir?
What is this? Diplomacy by nagging? Standing up to... Seriously, what does it mean to stand up to Donald Trump? Seriously, I'll ask this question. Because we don't have a military.
No.
People like Diane Abbott don't want a military.
No.
They don't want us to spend any money on it.
No.
They don't even want us to have a nuclear deterrent.
No.
So what do? We turn up to Donald Trump's door and say, please, Donald, it's really mean. Can you stop doing military operations in your sphere of influence?
Because we've got a special relationship and we've been friends forever. Just laugh at him.
Yeah,
laugh at us.
Also, frankly, these are, again, as you've pointed out, these were pro-Chavez people.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that these people are somehow more moral than Donald Trump, they support every kind of dictatorial regime going, as long as it's waving a red flag. It's completely ridiculous. Keir Starmer, I mean, if he was going to do an operation like this, it would be giving something away. He'd be like, we've done the most incredible operation ever.
Do you know,
£40 billion pounds
I'd love your take on this. Get me a voice note, 0344 499 1000 or a text, 87222 to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. Donald Trump goes in literally in the dead of night and takes out the Venezuelan dictator, right? He might or might not invade Greenland. Sir Keir Starmer gives away the Chagos Islands and 16 billion quid. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with. Oh, we've got a voice note. Who are we starting with this morning? I can't see them. James, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good luck with your new breakfast show. Looking forward to it. Now, if any other president or prime minister did what Trump did, there'll be a national hero. But because it was Trump, oh no, we don't want the orange man doing this. If Obama did this, he'll probably get a Peace Prize, and it'll be over every single newspaper. But because Trump's done it, oh no, we mustn't have that. It's unbelievable. The man was a dictator, 25 years. I'm sure most of the Venezuelan people are very, very happy about this.
You might be right, James. Unfortunately, the problem is, and you said it, Pops, where does this end? How is it justifiable? But the Americans don't give a toss. Good morning, Jez. How on earth can we trust the words of somebody who's made a lifelong career from bending the truth? The answer is you can't. My view is Trump can go into Venezuela and remove a dictator. Why can't he come to London and remove Keir Starmer from his dictatorship? Good luck with the breakfast show. You're going to nail it. That's it. Stand by. Can you imagine Starmer, right, tonight, lying in number 10? Probably not with Mrs. Starmer, but let's not go down that road at all this morning. It's too early, right? Can you imagine, right? And suddenly, like, the American crack forces come through the door and take him out. Nobody gets killed, and we're free of this madness. That's great, isn't it?
Oh, don't, please. I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming.
Stephen Mitchell says, Happy New Year, you two. Living the dream for the new show. Anyway, is Keir Starmer TV interview enough to get him sectioned under the mental health process? He is maybe the most deluded person. That's Stephen Cornwall. Hello to John from Angus, or it could be Agnes from John. I've no idea. Welcome back. I watched Keir Starmer on the BBC. I'm sorry, there's not many people, if any, I just dislike and don't believe he's just a different breed from me. I'm a country person in my 60s. I do enjoy country sports. I do believe in honesty and integrity, but this man, I honestly can't believe a bloody word he says. I don't believe he's got this country as it used to be respected. He just wants to change so much. I don't believe he's got any idea how to move this country forward. Universal condemnation of Keir Starmer on the day after he announced that he is going to be here for another 12 months. You're a political operative. That's what I'm going to call you from now on. Does he survive this year? No.
Well, I'm starting to change my opinion on this. I wonder if he is going to stick around after May. It's going to be incredibly painful for the Labour Party, I imagine, the local elections that will happen in May. It's going to make them lose loads and loads of votes to the Liberal Democrats and to the Green Party. I think they already lost the votes to the right if they were going to lose any more of those. But actually removing Keir Starmer would require there to be a clear plan, because of the way that the rules work, for one person to come in and take that role. I think someone like Wes Streeting's already played his hand, Andy Burnham's already played his hand. I don't think Ed Miliband is aggressive enough to actually set off that process. Maybe Angela Rayner might be the person to do it, but there is a chance, unfortunately, I'd say maybe a 20% chance that Keir Starmer's still in by the end of the year.
I'll tell you why I think it will, and we'll go to a break. 2 years down the line, they will know, even the most sceptical socialists will know they ain't getting back.
Yeah.
So if you've got personal ambition, I'm going to spend the next 2 years in Cabinet if I survive that long, or I'm going to go my one chance to be Prime Minister of this country, because they're not going to be elected for the next 10 years. That is absolutely nailed on fact. So if you're Miliband or Streeting, maybe you're never going to get a chance again. Don't know, really interesting. Right, waking up to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. It's the home of Alarm Clock Brits. Thank you for your text already, 87222. Get your voice notes in, 0344 499 1000. I'm going for a wee. I'm back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, 6:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. The creative ability of this team to put that together over a 3-month period. Brilliant. Welcome along, whatever you're doing this morning. If you're waking up like my wife has just woken up, and my beautiful children, Alice Alice, I've got the wrong name. Do you see what's the matter with no, she's not... Well, she is beautiful, but she's 22. Iris, Oliver, good morning. Your dad's all over the shops. It's sweaty in this studio. I'm freezing outside. Now, 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Keir Starmer's get it. He's not having a good morning, to be honest. I mean, he isn't. He hasn't been told anything about the Venezuela gig with Donald Trump. He's hated by his own party because he won't have a go at Trump. He thinks he's going to lose the May elections and be ousted. Oh, no, he doesn't. He thinks he'll be here in 12 months. Matt, what do you make of it, mate?
Good morning, Jezza. Well, big welcome to the new show. Looking forward to it. Oh, you had to spoil it, didn't you? You only opened your mouth for 10 seconds and Keir Starmer. Oh, I was in quite a good mood. Now, I'm feeling really depressed. But hey-ho, let's see what the Whopper comes out with next to cheer us all up. Happy New Year. All the best, pal.
Yeah, he sounds like I feel. Morning to Tony Gannon. He says, Poppy, Jez, yet another mega poll yesterday as Reform UK on 381 seats with a 115-seat majority. This is true. It's a more in common poll. It came out yesterday. If there was a general election held today based on polling of more than 16,000 Brits, it's a big slice of the cake. The prediction is that Reform would take 381 seats, Labour and Conservative fighting, but it would be a working majority and Nigel Farage would be in number 10. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader of Reform, on this station in less than half an hour. Trev says, morning, Jezza. Spelt Jessa. Get with it, mate. A freezing cold morning. I was lucky. One of my neighbours went out last night and covered all of our windscreens with plastic sheeting. Which is quite rare in this country because mostly your neighbours go out and steal your car, don't they? Which is, I mean, it's good. Maybe we're turning it round. I don't know. Yesterday, Starmer, already reeling about Venezuela, reeling about the May elections, decided it would be a good moment to say, I think we should be closer to the European Union.
It's hilarious. It's a real cargo cult thing, this, isn't it? Because he keeps saying, I want to be closer with the European Union, and the European Union keeps saying, I'm actually not sure we want to be that much closer with you. Because so far the terms they seem to have been offering up to the UK have been absolutely atrocious.
Well, sorry, there is one point, and this is on page 2 of The Sun, Starmer's fresh Brexit betrayal. I've always been quite straight about this, and people will say, well, it's not worked out. The British public in a referendum voted to leave the European Union. So that would be a betrayal. And he thinks that he's not popular right now. I believe. Let's say this is him. This is him on Brexit. Keir Starmer. He's been on this bloody show already too much. Have a go.
Steps.
But what's next?
We've already taken steps on food and agriculture to align with the single market. That's the sovereign decision that we have taken. I think we should get closer, and if it's in our national interest, in our interest, to have even closer alignment with the single market, then we should consider that. We should go that far.
So is that a total and utter rejection of what the British people asked for? Does he believe that that's going to be met with enthusiasm?
Well, the truth is he never believed in Brexit in the first place. He was one of the biggest campaigners for a second referendum, which was basically saying, I didn't like the result of the first one, so I want to do it again so I can get my way. And so, of course, he wants to go back into the European Union. You know, he's just been hiding it all along. This whole, like, well, we've just got to make it work. He clearly doesn't believe in it. This is precisely the problem, though, because he can't make Brexit work if you think it was a massive mistake in the first place. You're not actually going to try and make a success of it. So, of course, he's trying to go back in through the back door. But again, the European Union, because they are so inflexible, are not even being nice to Keir Starmer, who is their biggest offender.
But am I wrong to say that that wouldn't surprise me? Because we told them to shove it. So why should they welcome us back with open arms?
Exactly. It's totally
business,
irrational. They're like, they're like, you're out now. That's fine. We've got this new relationship. What's this like playing about? Or maybe we might go back into the customs union. Maybe we're going to have this free trade agreement. Maybe we're going to have free movement for young people. There's that new scheme that they've spent money on. I mean, the craziest thing is this Erasmus student exchange scheme.
What does that mean?
It's quite nice. It's like kids basically go abroad for a year. You get to go to Spain. You know, it's quite enjoyable.
So when I was a kid, there was this rail ticket. I can't remember what it was called.
Interrailing.
See, that's how old I am. They had railways in those days. They were steam, obviously. And you bought a ticket for like 100 quid, I think.
Yeah.
And I meant to say squid. It wasn't a mistake. It was a joke. And you could go all the way around Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like the French, so I would never go to Europe. I don't want to go through France
This is an academic scheme. I actually think it's quite a nice idea. But we're paying £48,000 per student to do this for 1 year. I don't know about you, but that's the most expensive gap year of all time.
Expensive.
They are not giving us good terms because they don't want us back.
What I don't get about him is, right, So he didn't agree with Brexit, right? And he was one of those people who said, and let's just reiterate what you just said, who wanted a second, right? A second referendum. It doesn't work like that, right? It's like Cameron. Ask the people and implement it. Don't sulk off because you don't get your own way. People wanted to leave. In hindsight, was it a decision that people are now happy with? I don't believe there's been a real Brexit. I don't believe that we've tried to implement what was told, what was going to happen. So it's a mess. But what does he genuinely think people are going to do? They're going to go, you're doing it again, aren't you? You are doing that thing whereby you cannot make a decision and take your detractors head on. You're trying to please all the people all the time. He is absolutely hamstrung by a Labour Party that doesn't really believe in anything that he says and wants to go further, right?
Exactly. This is the act of a desperate man. I mean, I remember saying when he first won the election that the Brexit stuff might be on the cards again, purely because I think when they run out of ideas, when they run out of money to spend, which happened much more quickly than I think anyone anticipated, they're going to start trying to bring up these old culture war issues again. You know, because actually for Keir Starmer, as much as I hate to say it, I think trying to bring us back into the European Union for a small subsection of the population, the sort of people that have gone to the Lib Dems, that have gone to the Greens, probably would endear him to them. Because they have never moved on from 2016. Their heads are still stuck in the past. They can't move on from the fact that we won the referendum to leave the European Union. And so it probably is a good scheme to get those people back, but you can kiss goodbye to those red wall voters. They will never, ever, ever in their lives vote Labour again. You have betrayed them. You have lied to them. You have made them poorer. And now you are doing the most outrageous thing possible, which is to say, oh, you know, this democratic referendum that we did, it means nothing less than 10 years later. Sorry.
Unbelievable. Love to know what you make of that. Is he going to betray us still further with Brexit? Does that annoy you? Does it please you? 0344 499 1000. Voice notes are raining in. A text to 87222. Tony Hagan is in John O'Groats, right? Morning, Jez. Morning, the lovely Poppy. Here we go again. How much snow do you reckon he's got, John O'Groats? They've been cut off from the rest of Britain since Saturday. You'd love it down there. 6 to 10 inches of snow. I've got to take Oliver to John O'Groats. Oliver wants to see snow. That's amazing. But you wouldn't like that, would you?
I mean, it's quite cold, but I bet that's really picturesque.
What's wrong with it being cold? Did you wear your coat indoors or did you wait until you got out? My mum used to say, don't put any more layers on until you get out or you won't feel the benefit.
I had about 7 layers on last night.
You should have seen her this morning. It was unbelievable. Hi to Baz in West Brom. Starmer has passed a joke, Jez. This is getting serious. If we don't get rid of the most corrupt, useless, incompetent government this country's ever known, God help us. Well, many people this morning are saying we should phone up Trump and ask him in the dead of night to send in American Special Forces and take Keir Starmer out of Downing Street. What would that be like? Can you imagine that?
Him in his pyjamas being woken up.
In his Mr. Man pyjamas. Rod Liddell's, honestly, it's brilliant. He says he'd be in bed in his Mr. Man pyjamas and the Americans are coming to be absolutely amazing. 0344 499 1000. Another one that will undoubtedly be something that will get you guys going this morning. Honestly, I'm going to try Christian Stolby to be calm. Page 14 of the Mail. Illegal migrants who arrive in the UK from today will have their phones seized without police having to arrest them first. I mean, sorry, I thought we gave them phones. I would have thought that would have made perfect sense, seeing as how they send all these... What was that bloke that made millions of pounds TikToking his trip from France to here? Why are we so soft with migrants? Illegal migrants.
Something I find really funny about stories about these, because the Labour parties always say we're now getting tough. Well, 2 things about it. First, it reminds you, hang on, we were giving them phones in the first place.
Yes.
Why were we giving them phones in the first place? Or why were we giving them yoga lessons in the first place?
Yoga lessons.
You know, or 500 quid a week or something to get by. The second is, it's all rubbish whenever they say this stuff, because there's a massive NGO sector full of do-gooders who will be there with brand new iPhones, willing to give them to them as soon as the government refuses to. Seriously, all of this stuff is rubbish. Unless you can stop them from coming, none of this will make the slightest bit of difference. Don't believe Shabana Mahmood when she pretends to be tough. It means nothing. OK, these sorts of stories will continue coming out until these people are kicked out of government. They actually will not get tough on the migrant crisis because they will not actually stop them from coming into the UK. They'll have phones, they'll have yoga lessons, they'll have their money.
And you think about how Starmer is hamstrung over Venezuela. He is utterly hamstrung over over the migrant thing, because the majority, I suspect, or a large number of his own party would probably say categorically, you know, these poor... But I saw some woman at the weekend going, you've no idea how difficult it is for these people, their wives and the children. And I'm looking at the television going, but they're not. They're single criminal young men who throw their passport documentation into the sea and come here to sponge off this country because we're as soft as whatever.
Yeah, they're not British as well. I'm sorry, we have British citizens.
Are we allowed to
have
say
look
that?
after them. Well, I mean, I'm not sure at what point when they're stepping on the beach they apparently become British citizens, but I'm sorry, they are not British people. It is ridiculous that we are saying that if you illegally break into the country, you have the rights as a British citizen. You shouldn't have the same rights as I do.
No.
It's ridiculous. You've just committed a crime by even being here.
I wouldn't go into... I wouldn't want to talk out of turn, but I was talking to my son-in-law, actually, at the weekend. Actually, he was talking to me. I didn't bring it up because everybody in my family knows just don't talk politics, because my 22-year-old voted Labour and I I can't, you know, have the conversation. And he runs his own business, a landscape garden business, employs 2 or 3 people. And he just said, I don't know what else I can do. I work... He's an alarm clock Brit, absolutely. I work my arse off for my kids. I'm paying ridiculous amounts of tax. I look at how these migrants seem to achieve so much more, and I wonder how anybody can think it's fair. And I think so many people feel like that.
Exactly. You know, when they did the tax rises in the last budget, the stuff that really irritated me was that there's no more savings to be made. There's no more fat to be trimmed. Sorry, we have no choice but to raise
We'll stop
taxes.
giving 16 billion to the Chagos Islands.
Until you stop doing stuff like that, until you stop giving like mobile phones to illegal migrants, until you stop giving away sovereign territory and then paying the people who are taking it to do it, don't come to me and say you need to raise taxes again. There is more fat to be trimmed. Go back and actually look for it with your eyes open this time.
Couldn't agree more. Poppy Coburn with me, doing the papers on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, on Talk, of course, the home of common sense, and Alarm Clock Brit. Starmer's getting an absolute pasting this morning. Look at that. My tracker's up. Nearly 65,000 illegal migrants have arrived in this country since Starmer became Prime Minister. But don't fret if you're waking up. He says, I'll still be here in 12 months. What do you make of that, Pete?
Good morning, Jeremy. Great to see you on the start of a brand new show. Yeah, I've got great hopes. I've got great hopes that there'll be a general election. What are they going to call this year then? Starmer was the no-hoper. That's it. That's the name of the new film title. What a useless man he is. He's deluded. He must stand there and look at himself in the mirror and say, this is what I'll say today. But if I believe it, everybody else will have to believe it. God on, just bring us on the election. Just because this country is going to be ruined by next Christmas if it carries on the way it is.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 22 minutes to 7 o'clock with, what are you with Talk? The home of common sense and free speech. JK, the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show is on. It's all about you. It's about Alarm Clock Brits and the wonderfully talented, very tired and very cold Poppy Coburn is with me.
I'm quite warm in the studio, but it's definitely very, very cold outside.
Paul's in Wiltshire. This is interesting. See, the minute I talk about migrants, they all get their bit. You see, Paul in Wiltshire, all illegal migrants should be housed in UN camps in the UK under canvas and not allowed to integrate with the population until they have been fingerprinted, photographed, DNA swabbed to ascertain their identity. They also must be clarified what safe countries they've passed through and declare if they've ever been granted refugee status, but they should be held until they can supply details of nationality, name and deed. I completely agree with him.
That was originally what we used to do. We used to have detainment centres, but you know what stopped it?
Why was that?
Our brilliant international law system. You're not allowed to detain people without reason, so... you're not allowed
to retain people, but you are allowed to come into a country and strip it absolutely bare and do nothing to the fact that you work here, you get screwed. Yeah, that's great.
It's even better. We pay them if we detain them for too long. We literally will have to pay them money if we keep them in detention for too long. It's brilliant.
Did I hear over the weekend, it's not on my list, but did I hear a story of a bloke who'd been arrested, put in jail for a crime, and then decided, with the help of one of these human rights lawyers, to sue the Home Office because he didn't like how being in prison made him feel?
Yes, this is the Islamist terrorist, I think, that you're referring to.
What's his name?
Oh, is this a separate incident? Because this is a guy that David Lammy had to pay, I think, £200,000, just under £200,000. He was an Islamist terrorist, or wannabe Islamist terrorist, who we had to pay taxpayer money to, because apparently he was being...
So let me get this right. If you break the law in this country and you shouldn't be here in the first place, and they put you in jail because you've broken our laws, you can then sue this government because you might not like being in prison.
Yes.
Morning, Britain. That's what we're dealing with. Morning, Caroline. On Brexit, don't forget the billions we still pay as part of the divorce. Yeah, Mary's in Canterbury. Beautiful. Been to Canterbury?
Oh, I love Canterbury.
Nice tree in the middle of the cricket pitch. Good luck with your new show, Jess. I've got a new job for Starmer. When he gets kicked out of this government, he can work in the waffle factory, because that is all that comes out of his stupid gob. Morning, Sally. How are you?
Heaven only knows what's going to happen in the next 12 months. After listening to Starmer's interview, my heart sank. He really lives in cloud cuckoo land. But I'm sure between us all, we can put him to rights. Sally, Lincolnshire.
I thought, is she in Lincolnshire? Very flat. Be cold there this morning. Keir Starmer. The other thing that he did was... He told the BBC he regrets welcoming British-Egyptian activist Alaa Abdi El Fattah to the UK following the emergence of old social media posts, which included calls to kill Zionists. He called the post abhorrent and said he should have been made aware, and he wasn't. This is him. This is the guy who Starmer went, "We're delighted you're here." He's an anti-Semite. Maybe he shouldn't be here. Have a listen. Have a watch.
I mean, even just in the last few days, I wonder, are you sorry that you wrote you were delighted that a British-Egyptian activist, Alaa Abdi El Fattah, was back in the UK when he'd previously said killing any colonialists, especially Zionists, was heroic? He also said there was no genocide against the Jews by the Nazis. Are you sorry you welcomed him back to the UK?
Those comments are abhorrent, and I condemn them utterly.
But
so let's be really clear about that. As I made clear, I didn't know about those comments at the time of welcoming El Fattah to this country.
Sorry, I'm dealing with it. I'm just... Poppy and I are trying to work out what that means. He doesn't seem to know anything that is relevant, ever.
It actually makes it seem worse to me that he's actually come out and said that, because it implies to me that our own Prime Minister is so incompetent. The guy who used to be our top prosecutor can't even do the due diligence of going through someone's social media posts. I mean, it's unbelievable. Seriously, this guy shouldn't be Prime Minister. This is utterly ridiculous.
You know, Christian has reached out to the Labour Party, because one thing I will say is, you know, it is important to try and get both sides. And if you look at the last 40 minutes of this show, it has been, I'm afraid, nitpicking at Keir Starmer for obvious reasons. I would love the Labour Party to come on and say, well, he didn't know about that because of... But nothing. No, talk to us.
Yeah.
Let us try and understand how this complete incompetence, which for many of us is stripping our country bare, can be acceptable. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Your newspaper, I know you like this. Page 9. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just getting up for work, shoplifters are almost certain to avoid prison. Don't go to work, just go and do some shoplifting today. What is this?
Yeah, I think this story is brilliant. I actually have a new horrible game that my friend plays with me, because I work in Victoria, she works near Bethnal Green, so we both have a game where we say, how many shoplifters have you seen today? We text each other the number at the end of the day.
Do you really?
Yeah, seriously. We started doing it recently because we've both gone back to work almost immediately the new year. And you're immediately greeted by, I mean, coming from Japan, a country where there's basically no crime, or certainly no visible crime.
Why did you come back?
Well, I was thinking that, trust me, when I was walking through Heathrow, and I was like, like, Jesus Christ. You just walk into a Pret, right, I'm going to buy myself a £10 dry sandwich, as I usually do, because apparently that's sane. And you just see someone opening up their bag and just going,
yeah,
putting all those dry £10 sandwiches in there, and then just going to the drinks and just picking them up, looking at the security guard, you know, kind of putting his middle finger up, and off he goes. Walks out. No consequences whatsoever. Again, you can always thank the Tories for these terrible things that happen, because it was them who basically decriminalised shoplifting.
How
for
can we
under £500?
How can we decriminalise stealing?
Crime.
Crime. Yeah, crime.
That's what it is, isn't it?
We're decriminalising crime.
Yeah. You basically said shoplifting's legal. If you have the balls to do it, it is legal. You know,
how can it be? I don't want to implode at 7:15. How do you say to hard-working Brits, right? Go to work, pay your taxes, don't break the law, bring your kids up, do everything right, but you know some scumbag can walk into a shop and just nick 200 quid's worth and nobody will do jack. How? How?
Fund the police, fund the courts, build more prisons, and actually put people who commit crimes in prisons. The problem is at the moment is that they'll use any excuse, oh, the prisons are full, which is true, but we had a lot of time to fix that. Wasn't fixed under the last government. Apparently this government is trying, I'm not sure I necessarily believe it, and actually punish the crimes, because at the moment they're not even getting a slap on the wrist. They're not even being arrested anymore. You can't even say that you're going to be turned up, put in cuffs and then be fined. Nothing happens to these people.
It's 6:45 on Monday the 5th of January. Welcome to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk. It's the home of common sense and alarm clock Brits. You're waking up to well, it could be good news if you're a Labour supporter. Keir Starmer says, I will still be here in 12 months. Might not be good news if you think he's an incompetent windbag who will take us back into Brexit and has absolutely no standing on the international stage. Donald Trump, meanwhile, he says he might go into Greenland. He's already conquered Venezuela. In this country, it's snowing in certain parts. You can steal and get away with it, and migrants can come here and be given a phone, despite the fact they might lose it. But I just want to try and lighten it a little bit, if I can. Same newspaper, same page, Daily Telegraph. Civil servants lobby for a 4-day week, and many people are working from home because of the snow in the civil service. We need to work. Does anybody in the civil service just go to work?
Sorry, I was really shocked that they're working from home because of the snow. They were not working from home before. This is shocking.
Is the snow just a better reason?
I've got a really good story about a civil servant, and not the last flat I used to live in, but the flat before that. You know, classic. You know, in your 20s, flat sharing in London. My flatmate got a boyfriend, and I got really annoyed because he was always there. The moment I got up for work, he was there. The moment I got home from work, he was there. He was always sat on the sofa with his feet out, watching the television, sitting there drinking a can of beer. And I was like, is this man homeless? Like, how is her boyfriend here? Literally, he was there every single moment.
I know what's coming here, and I don't even know the story.
The wall. And eventually, I was like, look, I don't know what the situation is with this guy, but he can't live in our flat. I mean, what's going on? Has he not got a job? She went, he does have a job. He's a civil servant. Seriously, he was a civil servant. So there you go. That tells you everything you need to know about this.
Stuck out of that story was when you said, with real anger on your face, he had his feet out.
Oh, God.
You don't like feet, do you?
I don't want a strange man putting his feet all over my sofa. No, I don't. It's particularly if he's not even paying me rent. Oh God, it was a nightmare.
Sorry, can we take this still further? I know it's obviously it's a serious breakfast show, but can we take this further? Does that mean that men can come to your flat and put their bare feet over your sofa if they give you money?
If they pay me.
Is that what we're saying?
No, absolutely not.
No.
Under pain of death, absolutely not. Sorry, that was a slip of the tongue. Under no conditions do I want bare feet anywhere near me. Disgusting.
There are fetishes, aren't there, about people send pictures
of
sick
people in this country.
They're not people. You're looking at me weirdly.
This is how Keir Starmer's going to fund the deficit next. You know, he's going to be taking out pictures of his...
His whole cabinet could take pictures of their bare feet on the cabinet table. It's going mad. Morning, Jay. How are you?
Morning, Jeremy. Great show as always. Do you know what strikes me is that you've got a lot of the Venezuelan people celebrating the ones that have emigrated to America to get out of the dictatorship. You know, that guy was in illegally anyway. He couldn't get voted out because the people that come up against him either were dealt with or put out of their misery. So, and then you've got people on the left, you know, these Labour-loving Biden supporters saying, oh, no, you can't do that to him. He's a great guy. Well, some of the people there on average were earning $5 a day on a normal job. $5 a day. I have someone who They're British, but they stayed out there for a while, and they said it was horrendous. They said the amount of money and oil that place has got, they should be living like kings and queens. So Trump has openly said it's time to put some of that money back into the country.
The Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. Watching and listening to Talk just got easier. There's now only one place for the home of common sense. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, sir. 9 minutes to 7. It's the JK Breakfast Show. Loads going on this morning. Keir Starmer's getting pasted from all angles. Good morning to Poppy Coburn, Deputy Content Editor of the Daily Telegraph. There's a great story on page 11 of The Sun. I know we seem to have spent an hour bashing Keir Starmer. Let's move on to Net Zero Ed Miliband. This is extraordinary, and the hypocrisy of these people, it only ever makes me think, well, Ed Miliband and his cohorts have flown more miles. Basically, they've flown round the globe 6 times, probably in private jets. This is a man who wants you to have a heat pump. This is a man who's increased your energy bills. This is a man who thinks that we should spend billions of pounds getting to a target that's unachievable. And even if we get there, what difference does it damn well make?
This is also a man who supports net zero, which apparently means by 2050 we're not supposed to be using any commercial air travel anymore.
How's he going to get around the globe 6 times?
Well, there you go. But of course, for these people, there's always exemptions. It's like, remember Leonardo DiCaprio? He became a massive climate warrior a few years ago. You know, he started really banging on about climate change and how we need to protect the planet. All very, fine, that's good. Environmental activism, do what you want. But he has a private jet.
Yeah.
And he was riding his private jet all over the place. I always say charity starts at home. If you care so much about the planet, you will get the train and the bus everywhere, wouldn't you? Like the rest of us have to.
Well, you'd walk.
Or even better, you'd walk, or you'd get one of those like penny farthing bikes, wouldn't you?
Yeah, penny farthing bikes.
Yeah. Obviously, trains they're much too dangerous for the environment to get on. But they never do. And of course, what he'll say is, well, it's very important that I fly around the world because I'm trying to go to these conferences and meet these people. Have you ever heard of something called Zoom?
That's very true. What, you mean the conferences in Baku or wherever they cut out half an Amazonian rainforest, which is also against presumably everything that net zero zealots believe in, and built a road so that all those gas-guzzling cars and those planes could fly a bunch of idiots like him in to talk about in this 5-star hotel how they could make the world a better place.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to say to work, I've got a very important engagement I have to go to in Sydney, Australia. It's really important that I fly there and not just call someone. I've got to get there in person. That's very vitally important. They go, no, it isn't. Get on the phone.
Well, listen, I'm thinking of because it's snowing, doing this from home via Zoom because I think that would be. Clearly. But actually, I don't. I mean, I'm a royalist, but there's a story on page 7 of the Telegraph. Royals, this is unbelievable. Look at this one. Where is it? Oh, you've got Starmer. Royals fly twice around the world in helicopters. Now we were admitting off air, I wouldn't go in a helicopter. For me. I not at all, man.
The thing that's dreadful.
Dangerous.
They are so dangerous helicopters. They really are. I mean, they really frighten me. I've never been in one myself, and I have no desire to get in it. Who was the American basketball player? Really, really famous. I think it was Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Who died a few years
Dreadful.
ago. Really tragic with
Matthew
his daughter.
Harding, the guy that was a major force at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear so many fog, bad weather, dangerous.
Yeah. Wouldn't get in it. So, but you know, twice around the world. I mean, that is extraordinary. You must be travelling to shops in your
I think
helicopter
Prince
to
Charles,
achieve
if you look
that.
at that photograph in your newspaper, quite sympathises with you. He had mittens on yesterday. It was so cold.
Oh, well, that's quite important. Fair enough. I mean,
Do you
he's
wear
actually dressed very
mittens?
snappily.
Do you
isn't
wear
he?
mittens?
No, I wear full proper gloves. Proper gloves, not mittens.
You need to get out there. Good morning to Caroline. She says, actually, Starmer was aware of the reason the Egyptian was in prison. During Prime Minister's question time, when Rishi was Prime Minister, Starmer actually spoke about it. I'm retired, so I have a lot of time on my hands. Morning to Graham in Portsmouth. It's cold there, apparently, and windy. On migrants, are they taking their phones off the migrants when they get here so they can give them a free upgrade? Boom, I love it. Slim's in Burnley. Now, I don't know if Slim's on the Maduro jab or Slim is in it. I've no idea. If you are, I'm not against it. Good morning, Jez. America wouldn't need to come and get Starmer. It would just need a phone call from Trump saying, get your backside over here. And Starmer would say, yes, Mr. Trump, I'm on my way, sir. Thank you. Happy New Year, Jez. And the lovely Poppy. You see, I know what's going on here. These are your friends. Pete's also in Croydon, where there's no snow but plenty of knife crime, allegedly. Morning, Jez. Pure and simple, Starmer is a traitor against this country. He should be on the next series of Traitors. Oh, that would make brilliant television. Kevin's in Barnstable. Have you been to Barnstable in Devon? Beautiful. I think Starmer is even less popular than the nasty man Sam on Traitors, and that really is saying something. Am I the only person in the United Kingdom who hasn't watched Traitors? Have you watched it?
I haven't either.
No, we're too busy. Vince, morning. The British people still have not got Brexit. Starmer and Labour never wanted to leave the EU. Now he is willing to damage the economy and country to align us with his EU mates. And even the EU is failing. The UK had the fastest growing economy before Labour and Starmer got into government. Lining with the EU stops the UK dealing with the Commonwealth, which is a third of the world's population. The EU is 26. Starmer and Labour will destroy this country. I don't say it outrageously. Good morning to Sean. How are you, sir? He's in Gloucester. Happy New Year. Thank you for bringing common sense. Every bloody day, Keith Stalin and his party of lying idiots do something else to destroy democracy in my country. He's doing his best to rejoin the EU, letting dangerous terrorists in, building council houses for illegal migrants. Rachel Thieves is on about more tax rises to fill another fictitious black hole. And Lammy, enough said, the list is endless. We need to get them out now. This country is on life support and Ed Milliprat is turning the power off. That's an unbelievable text message, isn't it? Does that not sum up what we're dealing with?
I really love the David Lammy. Enough said about that.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Newall in Derbyshire. Derek, morning, mate. How marvellous would it be if Donald Trump actually did kidnap two-tier Kia? Do you think if the British citizens petitioned him enough, he'd come to our rescue and put two-tier in Guantanamo Bay in an orange jumpsuit? Timothy Chalamet, have you seen that? And Crystal, look, she's in Maine, bless her. She's in Maine in the US. It is currently -11 in Westbrook, Maine, and headed downwards. Glad to see you're back. -12.
That's horrible.
I'm thinking. So one of the new things we'll talk about on the show is we're gonna have a roving reporter. We'll tell you more later. Who's going to go out and about to the things that matter. If it had been today, I'd have sent that person to Maine just to stand in the snow.
I bet they got about 20 inches of snow if it's -12.
Have you never been? I can tell you a very quick story, which is very it's true. When I was doing the Jeremy Kyle show years ago, I went to Lapland with some really seriously ill children, and it was wonderful and it was great, but I had to do a link which was about 15 lines long in snow, and it was -27 degrees, and I was honestly, I thought I was going to freeze to death, and I had a hat on and a woolly hat because it was freezing, and I was trying to, how do you learn 15 lines? I can't, it just kept making me say, and he said, take your hat off, and I said, I can't do that, my ears are voice. He said, Noel Edmonds never wore a woolly hat. He was giving kids Christmas presents. Honestly, that was cold. So this isn't cold here, mate, you'll be fine.
I can't stand it. I think if I went to Lapland, I would just combust. Ironically, I'd combust.
Poppy's going to be here every single Monday, even when it's freezing cold, reviewing the papers. Just to sort of sum it up, he says he'll be here in 12 months, Starmer. His party are honoured him. There's the local elections in May. There's the Venezuela's thing. It's how we look. There's Brexit betrayal. It's not great, is it?
I'm giving it a 20% chance. 20% chance. You never know, you might get stuck with him, and maybe we'll even regret if he does go, because he'll be replaced with someone so much worse than him, if that's even possible. But yeah, I'd say at the moment, it's not looking like he's sticking around, is it?
Got Richard Tice on next, Deputy Leader of Reform. Poll out yesterday, More in Common projects a Reform UK majority if an election was held tomorrow. Do you believe that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, actually, if I were Keir Starmer, I'd be threatening to do a snap election right now to try and get my backbenchers in line, because Reform would absolutely win the workable majority at this stage.
We love her. She's come all the way from Japan with a cold to be with you. She'll be back next Monday. It's the JK Breakfast Show. The news at 7 is on the way, and then the Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice. What do you want to ask him? 87222. The news is next on Talk.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything? And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many, many tens of kilometres have to be covered on foot by these migrants. And as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness. Please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning. Welcome to Monday, the 5th of January, 2026. JK, the brand new breakfast show, but never fear. On Talk, the home of common sense, it's all about you. It's about alarm clock Brits, the working person of the United Kingdom, out there already in this weather and watching what's just happening in this government and this country and getting ever more annoyed. We want you involved as ever, please. Text 87222. Start your message with the word Talk. You can also, of course, send your voice notes 0344 499 1000. You're waking up to some pretty tragic news, I'm afraid. Keir Starmer yesterday in a BBC interview with Laura Kunsberg said, I will, but let's play it. He says he'll be here in 12 months. This will make you feel good for a Monday. Have a watch.
I'll be sitting in this seat by 2027, and if this long-form interview works, we can try it again in January of next year as well. I am looking forward to 2026. I'm optimistic about turning the corner, which is good for the country.
Really? Yeah, well, we'll make our own minds up about that. Is he good for the country? Is he going to survive? He wants to take us apparently closer to Brexit. That's a betrayal to the British people. Apparently, he's very happy to give illegal migrants new phones and say hello to anybody. 70,000 have come in since he became the Prime Minister. The left wing of the Labour Party are at him because Donald Trump, of course, whatever you make of what happened in Venezuela. Poppy Coburn just said to me, she left the studio, even when Trump does something I disagree with, it's still quite amusing just to see. There has been a lot of people texting the show in the last hour saying, could we not beg Donald Trump to do the same to Starmer as he did to Nicolas Maduro? Come into Downing Street in the middle of the night, the American Special Forces, and take him out in his Mr. Men pyjamas. Yesterday, this is really important, a More in Common poll predicted a Reform UK majority if an election was held now. This was 16,000 Brits who said Reform would get a 381-seat majority. Yesterday, Keir Starmer, he talked about the threat of Reform. Have a listen, have a watch.
It'll be a Labour government up against a very right-wing proposition in Reform. And that Reform proposition will be a proposition of toxic divide of this country. The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse. And that is the essence of Britishness. That will be challenged at the next election by Reform, and this country, if Reform wins, will be torn apart in a toxic way. And my strong sense of history tells me that if a right-wing proposition like that gets in with that toxic divide and things don't go the way they pretend they will, and they won't, they will move to the right, to the right, to the right.
To the right, to the right, to the right, from a Prime Minister who got elected talking quite centrist and is going to the left, to the left, to the left. Right. Apparently, a Reform government will be a right-wing proposition. It will cause toxic division. It will be a disaster. A very good morning to the Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year to you, Jeremy, and congratulations on your new show.
Well,
I'm celebrating the new year. I've got a new tie. I've got new cufflinks, and I've got a new fiancée, Jeremy. Imagine that.
Listen, if you don't know the news, ladies and gentlemen, on Boxing Day, Richard Tice got down on one knee, took him an hour to get back up again, and he asked the wonderful Isabel Oakeshott to get married. Now, I have a slight message from Isabel, and you're going to slightly worry about this, but don't, because I've already been invited to the wedding. Where's the ring, Tice? You can't just ask her to marry you without a ring, man. You haven't bought one.
Patience is a virtue, Jeremy. Patience is a virtue. That's what I say.
I know what you're up to. You're going to marry her quickly, so you actually just miss out on the engagement.
No, that's libelous. I'm not having it. I'm in touch with my lawyers already.
All right, well, just remember I do a wonderful disco. I'll play the tunes in the evening at the gig. Welcome to the show, mate. Thank you for that. Let's kick off straight away with Keir Starmer. I mean, he said about Reform there, I wrote it down, if this country goes for a right-wing proposition that will cause toxic division, he said that would not be British and we would suffer dramatically. What's your response to that, Richard?
Well, my response to that is that this is a Prime Minister who is delusional, who thinks he's going to be there in a year's time. I think Poppy Coburn was probably right. It might be a 20% chance, but the likelihood is after disastrous May elections when Reform we plan to do extremely well, that Starmer will be ousted. But look, if there's a Reform government, and let's hope there will be, after the next general election, that's because the British people have voted for a British government, not some government that seems to be sort of kowtowing to the Chinese communist regime in so many different ways. And to be British is to believe in British values. It's to believe in everything that Britain stands for. It's to believe in our culture, it's to believe in law and order, it's to believe in making people better off, and fundamentally it's to believe in our background as a Christian nation. That's who we are, it's where we've come from, and it's where we must always remain. And this idea that diversity is our strength, well, how's that playing out on the streets up and down the country, where people are too terrified to walk through the streets of London wearing a watch or jewellery for fear that some mugger might come and nick it off you.
It's really interesting. If I was, not that he would listen to anybody, I don't think he does. I think you can see that in terms of how he speaks. But to attack reform as un-British is a bit rich from a man who has freely allowed people to flood into this country, who I would respectfully suggest don't have Britain's best interests at heart, and whose very presence in this country is actually, more than anything, caused division, upset and misery for so many of the indigenous population. But look, there was a poll yesterday, I'd love your response, More in Common, projecting your party would win a majority, 381 seats. Over Christmas, I've also read articles that have said that the biggest problem for reform will be that as the reality of what potentially could happen does start to happen to Labour, that you look at the Greens, God knows how they're on 17%, he's mad, by the way, and the Liberal Democrats, who I don't believe are any better, and that there would be at all costs, Richard, a concerted effort by not just the establishment, but anybody left of centre to do whatever they can to keep Nigel out of number 10. Now, my answer is your answer, which is it's surely about what the British people want, isn't it? And if they want it enough, they'll vote for it.
Trust the gut instinct of the British people at the ballot box overall, and I believe that they will vote for common sense and they will vote for reform in very, very significant numbers, because the country, I mean, we are literally going bust as a nation. The government has borrowed over £130 billion in the first 8 months of this year. I mean, it's just completely and utterly out of control. Everybody feels poorer. The budget confirmed that real disposable household income will at best flatline or fall over the remaining term of this government. And the British people have had enough. They want proper law and order, they want economic growth, and they want secure borders. It's not difficult, and that's what a reform government will give. And that's why we're leading in all the national polls. And sure, Starmer's, he looks like a sort of startled, terrified rabbit in that interview with the BBC yesterday. And rightly so, given the damage that he's doing to our country. And I just remind people, later this month, he's going to head off to Beijing, where he's going to kowtow to the communist regime as he approves a super mega embassy in a strategically important location in the city of London for the Chinese. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. This is a man who is, the infiltration of the communist regime in China into the Labour Party is something that we're determined gets properly investigated by this review that was announced by the government just before the Christmas break.
I couldn't agree more. And in fact, just taking it back to what he said in that Kunzberg interview about, a vote for reform will be un-British. What about this accusation this morning? Well, it's not just an accusation, because again, let's just play another clip for people who are just tuning in to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. He did this big interview with Laura Kunzberg. He talked about the threat of reform. He said he'll be the Prime Minister, and then he talked about something that winds the hell out of me, the betrayal of Brexit. Have a listen, peeps.
Steps.
But what's next?
We've already taken steps on food and agriculture to align with the single market. That's the sovereign decision that we have taken. I think we should get closer, and if it's in our national interest, to have even closer alignment with the single market, then we should consider that. We should go that far.
Richard, sovereign decision we've taken, we should get closer. I'm sorry, maybe I missed the point. I voted to leave, as did 52% of this country. What does that do to the British electorate? They'll be up in arms.
Of course there will be, and that's why we're polling so well in traditionally Labour heartlands in the Midlands and the north of England. And we're also polling extremely well in Wales, where Labour is likely to be completely and utterly demolished in the Senate elections in May. Look, the simple fact is that Starmer unbelievably wants to take us closer to a failing economic regime, the EU. The last thing we want to do is get closer to it, given that Germany's in recession, France is in deep trouble economically, also heading towards some form of bankruptcy, almost ungovernable. Why would you want to link yourself and handcuff yourself to a failing economic model? It makes no sense whatsoever. We should be cutting wasteful spending, cutting daft regulations, keeping the smart regulations, so that we can start growing again, make work pay, make risk-taking pay. That's how you get economic growth, and then you can afford performance-related tax cuts. It's basic common sense, and that's why we're leading in all these national polls.
Basic common sense. Just imagine if we had a government that was about basic common sense. Now, you'll be completely aware, despite the fact that you had time off, as we all are, about what happened in Venezuela. Love him or loathe him, what Donald Trump did. I mean, I saw Nigel talked about this capture of Nicolas Maduro, bringing him back to face Department of Justice charges. It was everywhere. There were the pictures of him. You can see it on screen in his Nike tracksuits. Complete humiliation for a man who taunted Trump for a long, long time. It's really interesting. Two things I'd like to ask you about. Was he right? And do you believe the noise now about Greenland's next? Because international law, has it been broken? What's your view on this, Richard?
So, look, it's definitely acceptable under US domestic law. The role of the US president is to look after the safety and interests of the American people. And this was an illegitimate drugs lord who has been deemed illegitimate by the UK, by the US, by the EU for many, many years, who's been controlling Venezuela. And he's led to the deaths of tens of thousands of Americans because of the vast amount of drugs, primarily cocaine, that has gone from Venezuela to the US, the armed conflict and battles and violence of gangs in the US, all linked to this. So we shouldn't lose any sleep whatsoever about the removal of Maduro. The people who are upset about it are the communists and the socialists on the left in this country, and Putin and the Chinese communist regime. Why? Because they were very, very close to Maduro, because they were using Venezuela's oil. China was using Venezuelan oil. Russia obviously was also using Venezuela as a sort of flag of convenience, their own oil. And literally the day before Maduro was taken, the Chinese had a senior envoy and delegation meeting Maduro, talking about oil interests. And not unreasonably, the Americans have said, actually, it's not in our interest to allow the Russians or the Chinese to be controlling Venezuela on our back door. That's the position there. Look, I think the Greenland thing, sometimes you've got to take, well, you should always take President Trump very seriously. Don't take every word literally.
I couldn't agree more, actually. You can take, I mean, Poppy summed it up. She said, even the most outrageous things, you have to smile, but you have to take with a pinch of salt. Let's bring it domestically back to the Venezuela point, because that was the reason for asking it, because not only is he facing obliteration at the polls, Starmer, in May, he's humiliated on the international stage. A great article from Rod Liddle in The Sun this morning saying, you know, of course he wasn't going to wake up Starmer and tell him. He was asleep in his Mr. Men pyjamas somewhere in Downing Street. Let's talk about what he now faces within his own party. They are tearing themselves apart. Let's try and understand these left-wing socialists. This is what I don't understand. The Diane Abbotts, the Jeremy Corbyns, all these people are demanding that the Prime Minister condemns Donald Trump's attack on Venezuela, or rather what happened. They're Maduro apologists. How do people like that, Richard Buffoon, as I call him, Bergen or whatever, how do they sleep at night knowing they're basically shouting out for a communist dictator who's killed many of his own people? How does that work?
Well, actually, it's quite useful because they are showing themselves for the communists that they really are.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of hard socialists in the House of Commons within the Labour Party. That's the reality. And I think the British people are realising that. And that's why they're polling at 20% or less, because that's not what the British people want. So look, this exposes people for who they are. Let's be very clear. Maduro was an enemy of the West.
Yeah.
He was a massive supporter and friend of the monster Putin. And it's Putin and the Chinese communist regime who are worried after the deposing of Maduro. I don't think, frankly, I don't think many American citizens are that worried.
Did you see what he said overnight, Richard? Have you seen? have you seen what he said overnight? That the thousands, tens of thousands of Venezuelans who fled Maduro to come to America will now be able to go home. That's also perhaps part of it.
Yes, in fact, I think it's over 6 million Venezuelans left Venezuela since, I think, Chavez took control those decades ago. And I just think that the fact that Putin and the Chinese regime will be destabilized, will be regretful of this, that is important. There is obviously a serious question of what next. And that's why Trump said that America needs to run Venezuela until they can get some free and fair elections. What we do not want to see, and the friendly, sort of the critical friend to the US must say, don't let to Venezuela what happened in Iraq and Libya, where they decapitated a leader by removing them from power, and then chaos ensued. And that's a really important lesson that needs to be learned. And that's now the responsibility of the US. I'm sure the Trump administration is very cognizant of it. That's their challenge now, to move quickly to ensure stability and that chaos does not descend onto the Venezuelans.
Just bringing it back to Starmer finally, the interesting thing, of course, is, and I don't ever find myself agreeing with Diane Abbott. In fact, I don't think I've ever agreed with anything she said, but she's dead right yesterday when she said, how can you not, I don't agree with it, but hear the words, how can you not condemn what Donald Trump did when you spent your entire career basing every part of your assumed, ideology on international human rights and international law? He's in an absolutely useless position again, and I would respectfully say it is because he never really ever puts his neck on the line and has an opinion. He tries to appease all the people all the time. He's tried to appease Donald Trump, he tries to appease the left, and actually what he ends up doing, Richard, which must be political gold for you lot, is he ends up not pleasing all the people, he ends up displeasing all the people all the time because he tries to be too many things to too many people, doesn't he?
Well, this is an important reminder, Jeremy, that what matters most for any Prime Minister as President is your domestic law and protecting the interests, the defence and the security of your own citizens. And actually, there will be significant disruption, hopefully, to the vast cocaine trade coming into the UK and Europe if there is a new well-ordered regime that is democratically elected to Venezuela. That would be good for the UK. So those are some of the optimistic hopes, and it's important to be hopeful as we start the new year, that we should take from this. But I just repeat the point. What's most important to any nation's citizens is that their leaders use their own domestic law to look after and protect those citizens.
Richard Tice, just if you stay on the line, when I go to a break, I'll give you the number of that diamond friend of mine in Hatton Garden. You need to go and buy a ring. Congratulations on the engagement, my friend. We'll see you very soon. Richard Tice, Deputy Leader Reform. His response to what's happening to Keir Starmer. You're waking up on the 5th of... No, it's not December. It's January, for God's sakes, 2026, to the news that the vultures are circling around Starmer. He did an interview yesterday on the BBC saying, I will be here in 12 months. Tried telling his party that. Half of them are upset that he hasn't condemned what happened via Trump in Venezuela. The other half are terrified about the May elections. Migrants are flooding into this country. Taxes going through the roof. It's not looking good. But he says, don't worry, I'll be here. Morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Jez. It's Daniel from Epsom here. Starmer and his government, for me, I've never known a worse government in my life. I can't think in living memory of a worse government. And what's become really clear is that the British majority have woken up and the British majority are going to vote reform. You can see it everywhere, whether it's fly the flags around our towns and cities, the protests. The Labour government will not protect our borders and they will not protect our people. The British majority are voting reform.
Very interesting, 7:22. Now, it is all very serious in the newspapers. We'll talk Venezuela. We'll talk all about, what's happened in terms of here and Starmer and will he be here or not. But on this show, right, the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, there is one person who tries to bring a bit of light to it. A bit of light. His name is Harvey. He considers himself a composer. First song for 2026. Morning, Harv.
Morning, Jezza. Morning. Morning, Mike. Morning, Jezza. It's Harvey from Elmo Hempstead. Wishing everyone at Talk Radio a happy new year from R&A Design and Build. Just going to keep it sweet and short today. Have a good show.
Is that it? Was that? There's no song? It was just a cheap plug for his company? Harvey, you need to put a song together, mate. That way you get on. What is it, 7:23, back in 3?
This journey of me following the migrants went from sort of 10 in the morning, all around the clock, to late at night, to the point where, on buses, on trains, through streets, at every key point, French military police and the French police, they were there. They were on the bus, taking down notes, taking pictures, but not doing anything to deter the migrants or stop them, just being there.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 7:26. It's Monday morning. This is the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. We're lining up today. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the Queen of Westminster, is back from 10 o'clock. She'll be brilliant. And Ian Collins this afternoon from 1 o'clock. Who's on drive? Is it PC? Peter Cardwell? Who? It is. Peter Cardwell all week on drive time. Hurrah! He'll be here. Don't miss it. By the way, you know we're talking about Donald Trump and Venezuela. Sean, what do you make of it all, by the way?
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby here. Don't really know a lot about Venezuela. Probably like most people. But I've seen loads of videos of these Venezuelans celebrating on the street since this lovely fella's been taken. And yet over here in the West, and it's always in the West, in America, Australia, Europe, it's the same old people, the pro-Palestine lot, the transgenders, the vegans, the just up oil people, the Islamists, all come together again and start banging on about international law, about supporting groups what murder and rape people. But let me tell you, mate, if international law supports these dictators being in power and you can't get rid of them, then it sucks. You know, great show, mate.
Very nice of you, sounds happy. Breaking news, by the way, on Talk Breakfast. Donald Trump on Air Force One in the last few minutes, this is honestly, has threatened military action against Colombia only days after the US forces carried out those strikes to capture Maduro in Venezuela. He was aboard the plane and he warned that Colombia could be next if it doesn't reduce the flow of illicit drugs to the US. So, before we speak to a US defence attorney and legal representative Deborah Blum, let's play you a clip. This was released by the White House in the aftermath of grabbing Maduro. Because let me tell you something, right? Love him or loathe him, wouldn't you love a leader in this country who had the ability to say, I'm going to do something? This is them patting themselves on the back. Have a watch.
Venga por mí! Last night, on the order of the President of the United States, Aquí lo esperan, Miraflores! And in support of a request from the Department of Justice, no se tarde en llegar! The United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. Cobarde!
Nicolas Maduro had his chance until he didn't. He effed around and he found out.
This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, you know, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well.
Christian and I just watching that. It's like an American Hollywood sort of, I don't know, one of those things that launches a film. It's unbelievable. But the reality is, for me, I want to know what the Americans think. We say a very good morning to Deborah J. Blum, US defense attorney and legal commentator. Good morning, Deborah. How are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I was just breaking that news that on Air Force One in the last few minutes, DJ T has threatened that Colombia will be next. Can I ask you, not from a legal point of view, what's the response across America? I suspect if you hate him, it's awful, and if you love him, it's great, right?
Ding, 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 you hit the nail on the head, right? I think that you have different people thinking different things about this. I do think that you have concerns on both sides of the aisle, whether this is a violation of the international law and it's going to open the floodgates for other countries to do the same thing. And then domestically, it's a question of whether he needed Congress to authorize this. And he also went around the extradition treaty, which generally governs when you take somebody from another country for them to be prosecuted in the United States.
Very interesting for us here. We have a rather lame duck Prime Minister and many, many problems. What we see from afar, and the impression I get when I speak to people, Deborah, is love him or loathe him, at least you have somebody in charge who will do what he was elected to do. Does this go beyond it? We hear now the rhetoric about Colombia. There's rumours about Greenland. I mean, is this rhetoric or is he deadly serious? Because you also hear a lot of how Americans are upset domestically that things are not getting much better too quickly.
Right. So, I mean, there are a lot of reasons people could have concern about this, right? He pardoned the Honduran president who had ties to drug trafficking, yet he's pursuing this individual, the president, who is now indicted in the Southern District of New York for terrorism and drug trafficking charges. So it's a question of what are his objectives? Why is he going after this president? Why did he do it in this way? You know, to argue that it was necessary, you have to have self-defense. One could maybe argue both sides as to why he did this. He declared a non-international armed conflict with drug cartels. So he's definitely doing his own thing and acting without checks and balances, which in the United States is our major fundamental way that we have different powers and there are checks and balances. So that's why Congress would generally have to authorize a military strike.
It's interesting you talk about checks and balances. Of course, we have that in this country as well, and you can see that Congress is going to jump up and down. But after what many saw as the stagnation of the Biden years and really nothing more than, you know, jumping up and down on the spot, not very accurately, this was always going to be a president who did what he said he was going to do and sometimes more. Do you believe, I mean, I also saw quite a lot over the weekend about how his approval rating is down to 36 to 38%, very, very low. Do you think the bubble is bursting, or do you think that Donald Trump, who's got 4 years and can never stand again, has a very clear idea of what he's going to do and nobody's going to stop him doing it? That's what we're saying.
No, I'm here to answer more of the questions such as what's going to happen in court, right? He's going to go into court and his lawyers are going to argue that this violated extradition treaty. But the U.S. does it many times. I'm involved in a case right now where the same thing happened. It was disguised as a deportation, but it was actually a formal extradition without any of the rights that you're granted under the extradition treaty. In terms of approval rating or, you know, what direction he's taking it in, he's certainly sticking to what he's saying. You know, there are reasons why for an operation of this scale that you don't want to involve other branches of the government. You get to take swift action. So you could really see this from various points. And I'm really going to be curious who the judges assigned to the case. We should find that out tomorrow. What their position is going to be on this abduction. Does this person get to argue sovereign immunity? I think that that's going to be really difficult for him to establish, given that so many people in his home country feel that he has illegitimate power, right? Then it's going to be a question of how else, like we did this in 1989 with Manuel Noriega, so his defense counsel is certainly going, I mean, the prosecution is going to argue that this was done. There's plenty of precedent for it. And also, if you look at those extradition treaty cases, the U.S. gets to abduct people often.
It's quite interesting.
Without any consequence.
I'm just going to read you a text, actually, that's come in while we're speaking from Bob. He says, Trump's attack on Venezuelan drug cartels, strong action from a strong leader in my mind. How many Americans have died due to trafficking of drugs, fentanyl and others? Far more than in any wars. Maduro and the drug gangs know what they're doing, and this is when they get paid for it. It's quite interesting because people are saying it's not about fentanyl, it's about showing strength in terms of Russia and China. But either way, you're right, the legalities of it will no doubt pay out. But this is a president who doesn't seemingly care about anything other than doing what's right. And, you know, I can only say from our point of view, and you're probably better off there than here, we have a government that doesn't make any decisions. So you know, whatever side you're on, it'll be an interesting one to see whether he goes further with Colombia, Greenland. I mean, many people, to put a smile on your face to finish this morning, Deborah, many people who listen to this have texted and called this morning saying they'd like American special forces to fly across the Atlantic and actually abscond Keir Starmer in the middle of the night, take him out of Downing Street and put him in a jail in America. And that would, in fact, please many, many people. So maybe we'll be on the phone legally again. We appreciate your time. Deborah J. Blum, I love that. US defence attorney and legal commentator, 25 to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's the home of the working class Brit alarm clock Brits, the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. It's about you. Now, I would usually go to a break because we're going to speak to a member of the Tory shadow cabinet. Christian's being sympathetic this morning. He says, why don't we go to them now because they're cold? Who is it? It's Matt Vickers. No, let's go to a break. No, Matty, Happy New Year. What's happening? Look at you.
It's damn cold out here. Happy New Year. Did you get out nice for Christmas?
No. Did you get a girlfriend?
Well, I didn't have an inflatable one, but in the end, you know, you get all these socks and the Lynx Africa. Well, I got this peculiar present from one brother who always buys me something odd.
Yeah.
And it was this book. It's entitled "I'm Only Being Honest." And it had this picture of a young chap on the front who had the same he had the same name as you. It turns out it was your book. Very impressive read. Well, yet to read, but I'm sure it will.
You haven't read it, have you? My kids laugh at I'm Only Being Honest because it was. You could just so you know how tight your brother is. You can get it on Amazon for 49p. It was written 14 years ago. It was a bestseller, but yeah, all gone. Mate, great to have you on. You've drawn the short straw on Monday the 5th, haven't you? Where do we start? We can only start in one position. Yesterday, BBC Laura Kunsberg, our embattled Prime Minister, delivered the line that has struck even more of a chill into people than you're feeling, which is he says he'll be here in 12 months. He says that it doesn't matter. He knows it's hard for Brits, but things are about to turn and things are going to improve. What's yours and the Tories' response to that?
Well, the problem is things have already turned. He's had 18 months and he's took us entirely the wrong way. When this government came to office, we had the fastest growing economy in the G7. We've now got the slowest. We had near record levels of employment. We've now got 21% more people unemployed. There were some devastating stories in the newspapers at the weekend about young people and the job opportunities, the Saturday jobs that they can't get anymore, the graduate jobs that all these youngsters have gone off to university to train for. There's none of them left either. Nothing's going on because anybody in this country who creates jobs is on the move. They're terrified to create jobs. The reality is what this government is doing to our economy is costing jobs. It's driving up prices, and it is causing anybody who wants to run a business to flee. It's terrifying, actually, what they're doing.
I think it's
Real
quite
consequences
interesting
for people out there who are trying to make ends meet.
I think you're right to go down that line, and we've sat here today and talked about, you know, his own MPs are plotting because, you know, the hard left want him to condemn what Trump's done in Venezuela, and we can talk about that. You know, will he survive the May elections? But somebody said to me something really interesting over the holidays about how the Labour Party was always, well, Labour was about the working person. And there's no doubt that working people and people who have struggled to succeed or run a business or have been absolutely screwed under this 18-month government. And actually those very people that were probably the heartbeat of Labour have abandoned them in droves. Whether they've gone to the right or the left, that's it. And he seems to be... I mean, let's take Venezuela. Half of his party is saying, because they're all Chavez red flag flying socialists, they're all saying he should condemn it. And I said it earlier, I don't think I've ever supported them more. When Diane Abbott yesterday said, and I quote, you've based your entire career on being a supporter of international law, you're a human rights lawyer, you're a bloody hypocrite.
I mean, pick your poison with these guys. The reality is that this was a brutal, oppressive regime, well, illegitimate regime. You know, he held an election, didn't get the result he wanted, carried on anyway, to the point he did so much damage to that country that 8 million people left. Yeah. I mean, it's bad here, but crikey, 8 million people up sticks and left Venezuela.
But did he have a right to go in there? Do you and the Tory party believe that the reason that he's given about fentanyl and drugs is justification? And Nigel Farage said he's broken international law. Do you believe it's justification for what happened?
I think we've got to ask the Americans. Well, the opportunity would be there for the Americans to put the case forward. I'm sure they're going to do that. I'm sure there are people who would criticise Trump no matter what he did. Anyway, before we even start, you heard the loony lefties of the Labour Party. The reality is that the Americans are our biggest partner, whether it's defence, whether it's security, whether it's intelligence, whether it's trade. They share our values, they share our interests on the globe and the outlook there. It's right that the questions will be asked. It's right that the USA will have to put the case forward and answer those questions. And it's right that this brutal dictator has finally been held to account for the things that he's done to those people in Venezuela.
But you see, I mean, I'm not against you. I agree with you. But when you describe them as our partner and that special relationship, I don't mean to be rude, Starmer had no idea at all. He had absolutely no idea. I mean, there's this great story there's an article in The Sun, I think page 12, from Rod Liddell, and he says, can you imagine, like, they're in the American Situation Room and the general's going, we are ready to go, Mr. President, do you give anything? And suddenly somebody goes, no, we haven't rung Sir Keir, and they all laugh. And somebody, he'd be at home in his Mr. Mem pyjamas. I mean, I get wound up about, you know, what happens domestically, but internationally, this special relationship, look how he treated him when he dissed him on stage that time. We are a laughing stock, and still further with this, we knew nothing about this. That's the point, Matt, isn't it?
I mean, you couldn't have a less inspiring guy at the helm of this country. The guy is so drab, it's unreal. He's got no backbone. He can't even stand up to his own backbenchers. Whenever we send this guy abroad, you don't worry about the cost of his travel. You worry about whatever he's going to give away whilst he's there. He's always at the wrong end of the negotiating table. Whether it's giving away 12 years of fishing rights to the EU, whether it's giving away we're voting on it again this week, Chagos, and the huge cost of that. This guy just seems to go away, dole it out willy-nilly, and everybody else is forced to pick up the tab. It's a disaster, but there is no wonder when we look at him how much respect the people of Britain have for him, how much respect do we expect people across the globe, world leaders, to have for this man who is destroying our economy and destroying our country.
Now, the one thing I do want to put, I put this to Richard Tice, I want to put it to you, and I'm going to play you a clip. One of the things that has absolutely infuriated our viewers and listeners this morning is he's been accused of plotting a full-scale Brexit betrayal. Watch this with Laura Kuenssberg. This is Keir Starmer yesterday about betrayal.
Steps.
But what's next?
We've already taken steps on food and agriculture to align with the single market. That's the sovereign decision that we have taken. I think we should get closer, and if it's in our national interest, in our interest, to have even closer alignment with the single market, then we should consider that. We should go that far.
What's yours and the Tory party's view of what seems to be a government again saying to 52% of people who voted to leave Brexit, shove your opinion, I'm going my own way.
It's another broken promise. He broke his promises to our farmers. He broke his promises to our pensioners. He broke his promises to all of us on council tax. He said not a penny more. And up it went. It's another broken promise from the Labour Party. He told us he wouldn't do this in his manifesto, but it's just another distraction as well. This guy wants to blame anybody but himself and Rachel Reeves for the damage that he's doing to our country and our economy. All those people out of work, young people, opportunities closed off to them, businesses absolutely battered by his business rates increases, by his jobs tax, and by the red tape that's spiralling out of control as a result of his employment rights bill. It's his fault. He can't blame anybody else. Blame it on the EU all you want. Blame it on Brexit all you want. The reality is, the reason our economy is in the state it is because of Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves' decisions.
Yeah, I think most people listening, just finally, as the Shadow Home Office Minister, your latest title for 2026, he's got so many, ladies and gentlemen. This sort of wound up a lot of people this morning. We're approaching 70,000 illegal migrants that have come into this country since Starmer took power. Migrants can have their mobile phones and SIM cards seized from today without the need for arrest under laws fighting people smugglers. Border Force, immigration and police officers will be able to confiscate and search phones and other electronic devices. Most people texting and saying, why has it taken so long? But there's real cynicism, Matt. This will make you smile. People think they're taking the migrants' phones to give them back with a free upgrade. What's the Tory party's response to that?
So the reality is that this migration crisis under this government has got, not a little bit worse, it's got a hell of a lot worse. The number arriving over the last 18 months, if you take it and compare it to the 18 months of the last government, it's gone up 50%. That is huge. And when it comes down to these phones, there was already legislation in place that would have allowed us to take phones, to seize such devices, but it was linked to an obligation on the Home Secretary to remove people who come here illegally. All of this is tinkering around the edges. It could already be done. The reality is people who break into this country, people who enter illegally, cannot be allowed to stay. Everybody at home knows that is the common sense way to solve this. Until we start doing that, people are going to continue to arrive in ever increasing numbers. The only way to do it is to remove people who break into this country.
Mate, it's always a pleasure. Now you're going to come in and do the papers later in the week. Do you realise that you're the first person to do an interview with me from Westminster without people with placards behind you? Do you know why that is? Because it's too bloody cold, which sums up exactly what those sort of protesters are. They're all at home. I don't want to put my banner up today. Matt Vickers, you're a ledge. Thank you very much indeed. 7:45. So much to talk about. Jane, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. This Brexit betrayal. The farmers have had 12 months of not knowing whether they can survive. Keir Starmer comments about food and agriculture several times on that interview. We're securing food and agriculture in our European single market. And I want to know, are the European farmers who are demonstrating all over Europe at the moment willing to go to the standards of the UK farmers and what we have to put up with and what we have to adhere to with chemicals and restrictions on how we farm this land? That's the question I want to know. Is he going to ask that the European farmers have to go to the lengths that we, the British farmers, have to go to?
I would respectfully say to you, Jane, that he's shown entirely what he thinks of the British farming community, and we as a station, and I know, you know, other newspapers and stations feel exactly the same. The British farming community is being screwed by a government. It doesn't seem to understand that actually the British farming community is not loaded. They pass it down through generations to take 1% of the value of a farmer's salary. Most of them are skin, but most of all, they provide our food. And much like the madness of energy, which is, oh, let's have wind farms. Oh, we can't make enough. We'll have to import it. It will be exactly the same with food. What is it? 7:45, just gone. It's Monday the 5th of January. If you want to be on, 0344 499 1000, still to come in the next 2 hours. Kinsey Schofield next. We'll speak to Jack Elsom, Trevor Kavanagh, Matthew Torbett, Sarah Pochin and Peter Blexley as well in the next 30 minutes. We're back in 3.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 12 minutes to 8. We're live across the UK. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk's the home of common sense. It's the home of the alarm clock Brits. And you're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer is embattled on many fronts. Donald Trump's invading, well, I say going into Venezuela, maybe Colombia and Greenland next. He's not even telling Starmer. Half of his MPs are hacked off. He hasn't denounced it. They're not very happy. He's worried about the May elections. But yesterday he told us in an address, well, not an address, an interview on the BBC, he will be here in 12 months' time. So things can only get worse, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to take us back into Europe. He's going to... Never mind. 0344 499 1000. It's 11 minutes to 8. Brand new breakfast show on Talk, but it's all about you and it's about the stories. And we can't do a brand new breakfast show without the First Lady of America, I call her, the first royal lady. She should be in the royal family. Kinsey Schofield, a very good morning to you.
I mean, conveniently, JK, I do have a tiara. If this is how you want to start the new breakfast show, I have a tiara at my beck and call always, and I'm ready to go. It's a new year, new me.
Madam, the Duchess of California, welcome to the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. It's called a tiara, not a tiara. Tiara.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's so Meghan Markle of me.
I mean, honestly, if you want to join the British royal family, can you damn well speak properly first? It's tiara. No, Meghan. Tiara.
Tiara. I will take my tiara off if we get serious, though, because I am a respectable journalist.
Yeah, take it off. Welcome. How was Christmas? Happy New Year. Everything good?
It was. Thanks for asking. It's great to see you, and I love all the beautiful new graphics for your breakfast show. Congratulations.
Thank you, my darling. Two big stories, and this is something that you and we were talking at 3 o'clock this morning, but that's another story. Prince Harry set to regain his automatic armed security in the UK. How?
Well, first of all, I'd love your reaction to this because you're going to be paying for this. According to sources close to the Sussexes, Prince Harry won his fight for his round-the-clock security detail to be restored, which means the UK taxpayers would cover the costs of Harry's security again.
How has he won it? Who's made that decision? Do we know?
So the reinstatement of armed security, this was assured after a fresh risk assessment was carried out by Ravik. A source told the Daily Mail it's now a formality. The Home Office has indicated that security is now nailed on for Harry. And this is kind of silly because we've talked about this for years now, you and I, how really all he had to do was give them 30 days notice, and the likelihood that he'd get the security that he wants, which is armed security, is pretty high. But the fact that it's automatic, it's just frustrating to, I imagine to someone like me that covers him. When you look at the amount of time he spends in the UK and what his objectives are since Megxit when he's there, JK, the majority of the time that he's there, he's suing somebody. He's in a court. He's in a courtroom. He's fighting with somebody. If I'm a British taxpayer, I don't like the fact that my money is going towards Harry pitching a fit and moaning in another courtroom.
Listen, I couldn't agree more, and I think you're there, we're here. It's hard enough for people in this country right now for all sorts of reasons that I won't bore you about. High taxation, a government that seems to favour anybody who shouldn't be here over people who have been here all their lives. And I think, for me, as a royalist, this is another... This will result in more justifiable kicking of the royal family, because what this says is you can leave this country, slag off the thing that sustains you, and then at some point click your fingers and expect us, a country that's skint, to pay for you when you deign us with your attention. But then there's another story about Harry and Meghan. He is desperate. Now, I read at the weekend that, or maybe at the back end of last week, that William and Charles are going separately to the United States at some point next year to shore up. She's very excited about this. She could meet William. Maybe you could steal him off Catherine.
No, I would never do that.
Oh, do me a favour. If he said, Kinsey, I'm ditching, will you come with me? Are you saying you wouldn't, Duchess of...
Am I more of a Queen Camilla or more of a Catherine? I'm more of a Catherine. I'm not, no offence to Queen Camilla, but I'm not a side piece, okay?
I love you so much. I love it. I'm not a side face. Anyway, back to the main story that we were talking about. They're going, I don't know if they're going together or separately, but Prince Harry has made no secret of the fact that he would like Charles to meet his grandchildren in 26. I think he hasn't seen them since 2022. And I said to you in the car earlier, and I just want you to repeat what you said because I think it's relevant. You sort of heard rumours about this is getting better and their relationship's improving. William won't be happy about this at all, will he?
Yeah, Project Thaw, give me a break. I don't believe in Project Thaw. I believe that was a campaign created by Meredith Maines, who no longer works for the Sussexes. So I'm curious to see if that narrative continues throughout 2026 with her no longer there. We read in the Times over the weekend, Kate Manzi reporting that William and Catherine are not in contact with Prince Harry. They have no desire to be in contact with Prince Harry. So very unlikely for the Wales family to reconnect with him in 2026, in my opinion. And also, like, Harry, if your security's been reinstated, then get your butt on an airplane with your kids and your wife and come to the United Kingdom. You don't need King Charles to go to you in Montecito. Just another example of his entitlement.
And I think also, and I think that's the best point that you could ever have made. If you're arguing for that, what's the point of it? I think that William has very strong feelings about how his brother has treated not only the monarchy but the history of everything, and I don't think that will ever be repaired. I'm sure his dad, it's his son, blah, blah, blah. But I do believe there is real sense within the royal household that whatever happens with that boy tends to be in the newspapers almost even before it happens. And that quick meeting at Clarence House, there was lots of stuff put out there. So I think there'd be real reticence to take him at face value. But yeah, why should our king with cancer go to Montecito? Can you imagine him in Montecito at her house? Sitting at the kitchen
at
table.
a Whole Foods market, King Charles walking around a Whole Foods market with Rob Lowe. I'm not seeing him. Katy Perry, no, I don't see it.
I'd like to say that obviously I would never assume that you'd be anybody's piece on the side, but I would love to see you in the royal family because I actually genuinely believe that you're more royalist than anybody I've ever met, which we love. And thank you, by the way, my darling, for staying up late. What time is it in LA?
It is 11:55 p.m.
Are you off to bed?
I'm going to bed.
You have a lovely time, and I'll see you soon, yo. Where did that come from? 5 to 8, we're live across the UK. The JK Breakfast Show, the home of alarm clock Brits. What do you want to talk about? Keir Starmer, Prince Harry, Donald Trump? What do you want to talk about? Migrants having their phones taken off so they can get a free upgrade? I made that bit up. 87222 or 0344 499 1000. We're back in 3.
Breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain?
Yeah.
Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Couple of minutes to 8. Sarah Poachin after 8. Peter Blexley as well. This is in from Damon. Morning, Jez. Damon from Wigan. If the Prime Minister takes us back into Europe, then what is the bloody point of the British people being able to vote when it counts for absolutely nothing? Governments may as well just come in and do whatever they want and not even care about democracy. It is a betrayal of Britain. This man is a disgrace. Darren, what you make of Starmer, pal?
Jezza, Darren here, Southwest. Honestly, mate, I've just had a laugh. Keir Starmer doing something for the national interest. I don't see him closing the borders. Do you? Have a good day, mate. Glad to see you back. Bye-bye.
He sounds happy. Almost 8 o'clock. Robert Morris, can you just stop, please, Jez? Me and the wife have been very ill over Christmas and want to try and eat something for the first time today, and you keep showing that Wally Starmer on the telly, and we both feel a bit Uncle Nick. Nice. Right, Sarah Poachin, the newest Reform MP after the news at 8, and your calls and your texts 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. News at 8 is next.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On YouTube. On your mobile. And on your side. This is Talk.
A very, very good morning to you, my friends. What is it? Monday, the 5th of January. We're live across the United Kingdom on the home of common sense. It's Talk, of course, where the nation can and will come to speak, and it's about alarm clock Brits. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in already. God, it's cold out there, isn't it? Is it snowing by you, by the way? Because my kids are desperate. I might have to get in the car later and drive to where there is some snow. Let us know where you're listening in the UK today and how bad the weather is. Apparently schools are closing, businesses are closing. It's typical, isn't it? Everything's gone to Yeah. 0344 499 1000. Look at those pictures there. Let it snow. No, people don't like snow. Text 87222. You're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer, his New Year's resolution, an interview yesterday with Kunzberg on the BBC, was to say, whatever the detractors, I will be here in 12 months. Let's just play it. Let's just make you feel happy on a Monday. This is our esteemed leader, fans.
We'll be sitting in this seat by 2027, and if this long-form interview works, we can try it again in January of next year as well. I am looking forward to 2026. I'm optimistic about turning the corner, which is good for the country.
Yeah, sure it is. Also, obviously the news overnight, over the weekend, about Venezuela, Maduro, the United States' involvement in that. He's also under fire, Keir Starmer, because most of the left of his party say to him, you should be condemning this. You're about human rights and international law. You're a complete bloody hypocrite. Never have I agreed with Diane Abbott more. So there you have it. Venezuela. Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah, he also wants to take us back into Brexit. That's a betrayal as well. What do you make of it all? I'll tell you what this next caller thinks of it all. Ladies and gentlemen, a brand new year. And a very happy good morning to Sarah Pochin, Reform MP for Runcorn and Helsey. Hello.
Good morning, Jeremy, and Happy New Year to you too.
You've got snow there. Where are you?
It's so much snow. I'm still in Cheshire because I'll be going into my Runcorn office before I head down to Parliament. But the snow here is amazing, and we don't often get a lot of snow in Cheshire, so it's absolutely beautiful.
Fantastic. I'll bring my kids to your house later. Did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
I had a wonderful time, thank you. I am rested and I am ready for 2026.
I'm not going to go into detail, but I thought just as a bit of fun with the backroom team here, I'd say to somebody, I won't mention him by name, Ted, I said, what did you get your girlfriend for Christmas? Oh, a couple of them Lush bath bombs, and she bought me some socks. That's romantic, isn't it? Anyway.
I don't think that relationship's going to be lasting long.
I'm not getting involved. He's now got his hands are over his head now. Sarah Pochin's condemned it. Sarah, where do we start? Do we start with that message yesterday? I will be here. A defiant Keir Starmer. To be truthful, the May local elections look like it will be the beginning of the end for him. Most of the left of his party are up in arms. They're sort of Maduro apologists. You know, they seem to accept that a communist dictator's a good thing. He's running out of road, isn't he?
Well, look, May elections are going to be huge for reform, and certainly if the polls perform as they say they are, then it's going to be a massive success for reform. I can't believe that Keir Starmer will be doing that long interview with Laura Kunzberg this time next year. Look, what he hasn't talked about, his priorities for this year, and surely if I was sitting talking to Laura Kunzberg as a Prime Minister, I would be talking about tackling the immigration crisis. This is the biggest single issue that this country faces. I would be talking about tackling the cost of living crisis, the money in people's pockets, the lack of jobs for young people, the fact that he's so got his business policy wrong in this country. And I would be talking about the security of this country on a global scale and the safety of women and girls in this country. Did we hear any of that yesterday? No. Is he going to be sat there giving that interview in a year's time? No.
I couldn't agree more. I've written that down. You're right, Sarah. We talk about the pulse, the heartbeat of the British people, the silent majority, how people feel. I suspect if you asked the majority of hard-working Brits, immigration, the cost of living, the security of this country, women and young girls, what seems to be happening is important. And yet we've got a Prime Minister who says, I will be here, and talks about wanting closer... Well, I mean, this is the other thing that will send you right over the edge. He wants a closer relationship with Brexit. He says that he wants to return to the single market, and that's what's important to him. And again, I was saying to somebody earlier, so you're freely accepting that 52% of this country voted to get out of that, but you immediately make that your priority. What about things, as you've said, that genuinely matter? He's after closer alignment. What do you and Reform make of that?
Well, look, who would want closer alignment with a setup that is the EU, that is in economic failure itself. You know, Germany is in recession. France has all sorts of problems of its own. We don't want to be aligning ourselves with a failing institution that cost us millions, billions to belong to every year. The fact is that Keir Starmer is now talking about betraying, once again, the British people by denying them the vote that was the Brexit vote. You know, isn't it incredible that 10 years down the line, we still have not implemented Brexit as the British people wanted it to be implemented, because the Tories failed to do it and Labour now want to, even worse, not only failing to do it, they want to go back on it and take us back into Europe. Well, I'll tell you what, Jeremy, that he will never regain the red wall Labour vote if he betrays the British people in this way.
I couldn't agree more, and I think in terms of Brexit as well, I think what you said sort of definitely deserves highlighting. I've always felt, and listen, I was very honest, I voted to leave. There were people who voted leave who changed their minds, but I've always believed in democracy. Starmer was somebody who argued for a second referendum, by the way. That's not how referendums work. I don't believe it's been implemented fully. I'll ask you this question because you're much more switched on than me. A lot of critics of the vote for Brexit to leave will say that that's the reason that immigration is where it's at today. 70,000, the tracker shows, almost 70,000 have come into this country illegally since Starmer became the Prime Minister. No sign of stopping the boats. Do you believe that Brexit and voting for that caused our immigration problems? Yes or no?
I don't. I believe what's caused our immigration problems is a lack of the will of successive governments to make our borders secure and make us a sovereign nation. When Angela Merkel did do that fateful speech and opened up Europe to anybody that wanted to come in from around the world, then clearly that was a landmark change in direction and caused so many problems that we're now dealing with. But the fact is that if the will of the government is to secure its borders, it can be done. We've seen it in Australia. We've seen it in other parts. We look at Trump now with his southern border. You know, like him or loathe him, you know, he does what he says he's going to do. We are a small country, relative speaking to the ones I've mentioned, and yet we cannot police our borders. That is down to the will of the government.
Couldn't disagree with that at all. Now, this is interesting. When he took aim at reform yesterday, Starmer, because the More in Common poll projected yesterday that your party, if there was a general election held today, Sarah, would win. And this was 16,000 Brits, by the way, quite a big sample size. You'd win 381 seats, with Labour and the Conservatives fighting for second place. The latest poll saying that you will be the next government. This was Keir Starmer yesterday. This language is quite strong. He must be terrified of reform. Come on, Keir, give it your best shot. Come on, here we go.
It'll be a Labour government up against a very right-wing proposition in reform. And that reform proposition will be a proposition of toxic divide of this country. The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse. And that is the essence of Britishness. That will be challenged at the next election by reform, and this country, if reform wins, will be torn apart in a toxic way. And my strong sense of history tells me that if a right-wing proposition like that gets in with that toxic divide and things don't go the way they pretend they will, and they won't, they will move to the right, to the right, to the right.
To the right, to the right, to the right, from a man who's going to the left, to the left, to the left. Sarah Pochin, for me, the biggest takeout of that speech or that interview was the man kept going on about what's important to be British. Apparently, Keir Starmer believes that to be British is to be diverse. To the detriment of your own people, by the way. Just thought I'd drop that in, yeah?
Keir Starmer, in my view, is the least British Prime Minister we've probably seen ever. And how he can accuse reform of being anything other than pure British, and all we do is put the priority of the British people first. And the fact is that if the polls are right, yes, we will form the next government with a ruling majority, and the British people will have voted us in. This is the point that Keir Starmer is missing. If we win, it's because we have the will of the nation behind us. They want to see change. We are the last remaining hope for the British people to regain the sovereignty of this country. And that is why Reform will form the next government.
I was just amazed. I mean, you can listen to him trying to be all things to all people, but I was amazed that you know, he's going to talk about being right-wing and being divisive and toxicity and all that. But to go down the British line, to me, is the most interesting thing about that speech. You know, this is a man who does nothing, in my humble opinion, and by God, we've given Labour plenty of chance to come on and say the opposite. They won't. Whether it's about flags, whether it's about our military, whether it's about our borders, we seem to be in a position in this country, and my father-in-law said it to me some months ago, where we have started to favour anybody over anybody that was born here or works for a living. And that's a really, really dangerous place to be. And I go back to something I said a lot last year on this show, which is that somebody texted us, Christian, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and said that when the silent majority finally realise that their voice can be heard via this or whatever else they do, whatever the colour of the government, they are in trouble. I think the majority, or a large number of people in this country who work their backsides off just to make ends meet, are fed up to the back teeth with the government that says, we'll favour criminals, we'll favour immigrants, we'll favour this, we'll favour that. Thanks for living your life correctly, but we don't care about you. That's what the next election in my mind's about. And the very essence of that is being British, isn't it?
And how is it possible that a Prime Minister who advocates for a two-tier justice system in this country can claim to put the British people first, can claim to be British, because it's the British people that are suffering from that two-tier justice system? That's just one example. Look at our welfare state. You know, he's coming out with all this rhetoric about being British, but it's the British taxpayer who are paying through the nose now for non-British people who are arriving in this country and getting everything free.
But that makes you far right. According to Keir Starmer, Sarah, that makes you far right. You're going to go right. You'll be called a racist and all those sorts of things. What do you say to that? Is that far right or is that common sense?
This is look at me. You know, I am a mum with children. I worry about family. I worry about grandchildren and what kind of country they're going to be living in. I worry about the safety of my children, the safety of my grandchildren. You know, the point is that I am just a normal person standing up for common sense, standing up for what the British people want to hear. This Prime Minister is the least British Prime Minister we have seen. He does not put our interests first. A reform government will.
One final thing will make you laugh. Well, it won't make you laugh. I'm just going to throw this at you because this is a Sun exclusive. The BBC is just remember, being British is about being diverse. The BBC is set to spend nearly £250,000 a year on experts to root out misconduct in the wake of the Hugh Edwards and Greg Wallace scandals. It has advertised 2 jobs, head of corporate investigations and whistleblowing, and a director. So you could become the head of corporate investigations and whistleblowing at the BBC, basically an in-house spy, 125 grand a year. What are you thinking? You going to go for it or what?
Well, again, who's paying for it? It's the taxpayer, isn't it? So I think the BBC, as we've talked about recently a lot, needs to sort its house out, put its house in order, and probably change the model entirely. And I think if, you know, we've talked about this as reform. If we get into government, when we get into government, then we would certainly be looking to change the model of how the BBC operates.
I mean, I'm not trying to get into trouble or anything, but, you know, imagine the programmes on on the BBC, you know, Watch with Mother or Bird Watch. What would that be? Pedo Watch, would it? I mean, honestly, the BBC, I cannot... 250 grand a year. If I sit here every day, I want to come in here, Sarah, and I want to be happy about something. I've got an incompetent Prime Minister. The national state broadcaster's a disgrace. The Orange Man baby. Apparently, in the last half an hour, Donald Trump's announced, listen, Colombia, you could be next if you don't root out the drugs. I mean, I thought Poppy Coburn earlier on, you won't have heard it, but she was right when she said, even when you disagree with something Trump does, but, you know, somehow it's amusing. Can I just finish on that? Nigel said that it was a breaking of international law, but there were perhaps reasons for it. Would you share that view?
Look, the fact is that the only people crying over Maduro's removal is the Chinese regime and the Russians. They were
and the left in the Labour Party.
Well, I wish that the left and the Labour Party would concern themselves with the issues that we have in this country. But the fact is that you know, this man Maduro was a criminal. He was a drugs lord, and he's been removed. And as you say, like him or loathe him, you have to kind of admire the way Trump goes about things. And there are certain times, I have to say, when I look at the current Prime Minister of this country, that I wish he was a little bit more Trump-esque in many ways.
I'm going to finish with the lady who I believe will be the next Justice Secretary in this country, in the Cabinet, and will change the very edifice of how we do everything. And ask you this, watch the smile on her face. Many people have texted this morning and said that the fact the Americans could get into a foreign country and get to the president of that country and get him out onto a USS warship in a matter of hours. Do you think there is any way that we could convince the American Special Forces to come into Britain in the dead of night and take Starmer out of Downing Street without anybody doing anything about it?
Well, I did hear that this morning, and it did make me chuckle. That's all I can say on that.
I love your honesty. Sarah Pochin, it looks lovely in Cheshire. Thank you for always being part of the show. We'll speak to you very soon. She's off to a constituency in Runcorn and Helsby. Great lady, 8:20. We're live across the UK. A very good morning in Birmingham, Britain's second city. Lillian, how are you?
Oh, good morning, Jeremy.
Whereabouts in Birmingham, love?
I'm in Borsley Green.
Oh, mate, lovely there. All right, good to have you on. What do you want to say?
I'd like to say this Prime Minister is the most hated, despised, horrible, vile human being we've ever had. And let me tell you now, his priorities are letting terrorists into our country and paying criminals, murdering criminals, compensation, and giving these invaders houses, and we've got British people homeless on the streets, and he has no mention of protecting our borders. All he's got to do is put the Navy on the border, and that's the end of it. I can't stand this geezer. And let me tell you now, that I hope that Reform do what they say they're going to do, and their first priority is to get rid of this traitor and all his little companions out of government. And do you know what? Deport them and all.
I love having... it's my favourite call for ages. Can I ask you a very personal question, Lillian?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 70, and I'm still working full-time.
I can hear it in your voice. Many people thousands will agree with what you're saying. The left would say, you're far right, you're a racist, you're disrespectful, you don't understand how these people suffer so much. What would you say to them, Lillian?
I'd say to them, I can't swear on TV, but I would say to them, get stuffed. And I'll tell you something now, I'm a patriot. If you want to call me a racist, call me a racist. I don't care. I love my country and I want to protect my grandchildren's future. And as it stands at the minute, Keir Starmer is not interested in the British people and their grandchildren and their future. And he's got to go.
Listen, Lillian, so good to have you on. Keep it talk. Thank you so much indeed. Is that a new voice note from Sean, is it? We'll head to an ad break with this, but keep those calls coming. 0344 499 1000 and your text 87222. Very quickly, Steve says, Jez, listening to Starmer's speech, the phrase that frightens me most is British means diversity. We all know what that means. What a load of absolutely... Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Sean, one of the OG alarm clock Brits. Just want to wish you and Christian and the team a happy new year.
I'm going to have another year of me screaming at the radio when you are telling us all of these truth bombs. Have a good day, mate.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, 8:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. It's Talk, of course. It's the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. 2.5 hours through it. If you want to be on, 0344 419 1000. Morning, Jez. Happy New Year. Loving the show. I'm confused by Starmer's interview, really. It's British to be diverse, so it's British not to necessarily be British. How does that make sense? I cannot stand that his party and everything they stand for, Adrian Horsham, which got the creative genius that is Christian. Yeah, this got his creative juices flowing. I want to hear from you. What does it mean to be British? That's a really good question. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. What does it mean to be British? We'll put that question to the political editor of The Sun. A very good morning, a very happy new year. Jack Elsom, how are you?
Jeremy, Happy New Year. I've been enjoying the show this morning, so congratulations. Honoured to be one of your first guests on it, as always.
Now, listen, I wasn't going to ask you this, but Christians insisted that I do. You just come back from a sun-drenched holiday. Do we allowed to say where?
Well, I'm surprised you can't tell by my bronze skin right now.
You look as pale as usual. I mean, you don't even look like you've been on broad. But anyway, right, man...
Because of my complexion, I ended up staying in the shade the whole time, because otherwise I just...
The wonderful Jack, ladies and gentlemen, went off to my island, to Barbados, where I used to have a home, and he took his young lady, you don't mind me saying that, and it was Christian who said that if he was a woman, not that he wants to be, and my man, he said, took me to Barbados at Christmas, I'd be thinking, you know, maybe a Richard Tice moment, maybe a proposal was on the way, Jack Elsom. Any news?
No news, but thank you for putting me on the spot live on the radio this morning. No doubt she'll be listening to this and will be incredibly cross. But no, you know what, actually, I think usually will be feeling very sorry for me, because those of us who have escaped the sunnier climes over the Christmas period, you come back here to this, you know, -2 degrees, and actually we take it more than anybody else because it's difficult to adapt. So you can get your violins out.
Oh, sorry, hold on a second. I think my heart's bleeding a little minute for you. Jack, you kept sending me photographs sitting on a sun-drenched beach eating cocktails, and I was getting up at 5 o'clock with screaming kids whose toys wouldn't work. But anyway, my friend, I would never put you on the spot. That is Christian. We're delighted to have you back.
Thank you, Christian.
Let me start, actually, with that question that's just come from nowhere. Starmer's speech yesterday, when he was doing the thing with Laura Kunsberg, he's going on about the threat of reform and far-right and toxic and divisive, and what he said for him primarily about being British is about compassion, but he said diversity is what's about being British. I think that will rankle with so many people. What's your view?
Well, I think like most people in this country, I think that, you know, you can have diversity of race and diversity of creed and diversity of class. But I think that being British fundamentally is subscribing to a set of British values. And I think that's probably what most people in this country think of when they think of being British, that you believe in the rule of law, that you believe in hard work, that you believe in patriotism, and that you are happy to stand up for the values of what that Union Jack represents. And I think that Keir Starmer, and I wrote this in my Sun column a few weeks ago, I think what we're seeing now is the third regeneration of Keir Starmer, in which he is just trying to tack to the left to be as anti-reform, I think, as possible. Because we saw Keir Starmer serve under Jeremy Corbyn, where essentially he paraded himself as a socialist. He then ditched all of that stuff after he won that leadership election, and essentially really tried in the first few months of office to try and ape reform. He quickly found out that, you think about the things like the Island of Strangers speech, big clampdowns on immigration, none of them seemed to actually work in shifting the polls, and he quickly decided, actually, I can't out-reform. I'm never going to be Nigel Farage. On the meanwhile, I'm losing droves of my voters on my leftward flank, and therefore I'm going to start doing stuff like talking more about diversity. I'm going to start calling reform racist. I'm going to start cozying up to the European Union again. He's seeing charismatic people like Zach Polanski tearing chunks out of his base, and therefore I think he feels that the only way he can survive is by pitting himself as the left candidate against probably Nigel Farage or Kenny Badenoch next time round. And that's what we're talking about, where you sort of have cuddly language like diversity. You saw that really start at the Labour conference speech, where he made a big pitch about calling reform racist and saying that British values are anathema to what Nigel Farage represents. I think that goes down pretty badly in the country, if I'm honest. And I think that it actually paints him as more out of touch than he believes. And I think as a strategy going into the next election, it's very risky, because if he's pitching himself as I am not Nigel Farage candidate, people might go, but actually, if Nigel Farage is the anti-government candidate, I might go for that one and not you.
I think it's very interesting as well to be picking up on, and I said this to Richard Tice earlier, to be picking up on, it's not, reform is not British. I would respectfully suggest that, I'm going to sneeze, which is really embarrassing, but I would respectfully suggest that that's entirely the wrong take. And yes, of course you're right, some degree of diversity. But you and I both know, Jack, that we've got to a point where if you go for a job, it's not on ability anymore. It's on about how many boxes get ticked. It's about promotion happens like that. We seem to be, and I said it just now to somebody else, we seem to be in a position in this country whereby those who do everything as we were brought up to do properly, pay your tax, go to work, don't shoplift, don't break, all those sort of things, are in fact penalised. And I think that's why the mood of this country has changed. I'm sure there are still many people, quite rightly, who hate the disparity between the rich and the poor and the divide. I get all of that. And that's what the Labour Party used to do. But I see a man who seems to change. You talk about third regeneration. He seems to change so often because he doesn't actually have in his DNA any belief or plan going forward. And I said it to you, I said it to loads of people during the election, and we had to be careful because of, when we're broadcasting, that. He seemed to make, I said this to you, he seemed to make his tent so big and invite so many people in that when you get the prize, you spend your entire time looking over each shoulder, front, left, and there's no conviction. I don't believe that this man believes anything. I think he just flows with the wind. I really do.
Sorry, Jeremy, my audio seems to have suddenly gone.
Are you there now? Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, one second.
Don't worry. Is he there? Oh, look at that.
Is that back? Is that working?
I can. Can you hear me?
Sorry, yeah, suddenly something weird popped up on my iPhone.
Probably one of those other newspapers that's jealous of your wonderful writing ability. He doesn't seem to me to have that sort of, I don't know, I believe in this and I'm going to do it at all costs.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that, and I've said this in this show before, but I think that it's the issue of fairness, which I think goes to the crux of why people are turning off Keir Starmer and potentially looking elsewhere. Because as soon as he came in, people saw him, take winter fuel payments away for pensioners and then increase money for train drivers. They see hotel migrants getting freebies, bed and board, Aspen cards and the rest of it while they're struggling to make ends meet. They are getting up for work at 5 o'clock in the morning, as you often like to say, while welfare payments are going up. And it doesn't seem that there's been anything to alleviate that sort of inbuilt unfairness in the British system, which, to be fair to Starmer, has not just happened under his watch. I think it's happened for a long time now. And that is why, while Starmer is the most unpopular Prime Minister in history, the last most unpopular Prime Minister was Rishi Sunak. And the one before that was Liz Truss, and then Boris Johnson, and then Theresa May. And it goes on. And I think it speaks to, yes, I think there's a unique unpopularity about Keir Starmer, but people have become pretty fed up with politicians for quite a while now. And I think that is because they just have seen a system that isn't working for them. But it's worse than that, because the politicians come in and they say they're going to fix it. You think about the tens of thousands migration, the David Cameron, it's really sort of started since then, where people come in, they make these grand promises, and it's that sort of patronising phrase I keep using, the democratic disconnect, where people vote for something and then nothing seems to happen, or in fact the opposite seems to happen. You think about them saying they're going to rein in the welfare bill. Labour made a big pitch about this in opposition and said, well, actually, we're the only ones that can do it, really, because we can actually take the vested interests of the Labour Party on board with us. We can take the unions with us on side and actually do this. And of course, as soon as they come in, they bottled any chance of welfare and reform, essentially, I think, for a generation now. And so it's that sort of, I think, inbuilt unfairness in the system, which nobody's addressing, which is making people turn to other parties.
I couldn't agree more. Right, quick fire round, because you're a busy man. Back to work today. Quick fire round. On that Kunzberg interview, a few questions. Does he last 12 months? Keir Starmer, yes or no, Jack Elsom?
Do you know what? If I was a betting man, I would say yes, only because I would not underestimate the ability of the Labour Party to make a hash of trying to get rid of him. And I think that is what is keeping him in place at the moment. I think that after May, when they're going to be walking into the gunfire of those pretty dreadful local elections we're expecting for Labour, the ones they haven't cancelled, then I think that there will be enormous pressure and groundswell for him to go by much of his parliamentary party. It's whether or not a big hitter feels they have enough support to break ranks and actually try and amass those 81 MPs they need to force a leadership ballot. Many of them will feel very uncomfortable doing it 18 months on from Labour's election victory. I think it depends about who it is, because, there are some calls for Wes Streeting to go first, because then he doesn't allow rivals like Andy Burnham or Angela Rayner time to be able to summon their support. But at the moment, Wes Streeting, I don't think, has the support of the party members who will ultimately decide who then becomes the Prime Minister and Labour leader, because he's seen still as much more of a Blairite and pretty opposite politics to lots of the very left-wing Labour membership. So that's a very long-winded way of saying, I think, on the balance of probabilities, I think he probably will be. But
ladies and gentlemen, that is a journalist for you. That was the quick fire round. It was yes or no. It lasted 3 minutes. Right, next. I love you, Jack Elsom. Is Starmer in trouble over the Egyptian activists he welcomed back into Britain with that tweet? It turned out to be an anti-Semite and a revolting human being.
Yes.
Well, you can give me more on that. You've just gone yes. Why?
Because again, I think they're trying to blame the machine and the civil service for this. And listen, I do understand that every government faces problems with Whitehall groupthink and delays and dithering and vested interests. And there's a very good article in The Times by Keir Starmer's former advisor, Paul Ovenden, about this the other day. But ultimately, the buck stops with someone, and that is Keir Starmer. If it had genuinely been an oversight, one, delete the tweet which says that he is delighted to welcome this man back into the country.
Absolutely.
And two, give a wholehearted apology about it. Say, I'm really sorry, I didn't know this. We're looking into it. I've deleted that tweet. I retract my words. And we're going to try and take action about it. But we've had a pretty mealy-mouthed response saying, oh, nothing to do with me, Gov. We'll hold a review into it. And I think that the public who are looking at this are probably owed a bit more than that.
Final one, and we love you for being on, mate. Really appreciate it. I know you're busy. To you, what does being British mean?
You asked me that at the start.
I know, I'm just thinking if you're awake. Thank you very much indeed. See, Jack, I thought you could do that very quickly. Mate, thank you for coming on, really appreciate it. And I didn't mean it about the possible engagement. That was Christian Mitchell, executive producer of the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. 23 minutes to 9 o'clock. Tim, lovely to see you out of bed, really. Tim, he said, I've just had an enlightened moment. Listen to this. Roses are red, violets are blue. If you're truly British, Starmer hates you. Never a truer word said in sense. What is it? Oh, listen, loads to do. Next, you can't do a brand new breakfast show with the voice of the people without him. Peter Blexley next on Talk. Coming right back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 21 minutes to 9 o'clock. It's JK on Breakfast on Talk, the home of common sense. Is where the nation, well, alarm clock Brits come to speak. We say a very good morning to a legend who's no longer in the studio because he's out doing a one-man tour that I sorted for him. Peter Blexley, hello.
Good morning, Mr. Kyle.
I'd like to say this to you as a QPR fan. I hope you beat the revoltingly disgusting West Ham in the Cup. I hope we're relegated with trash, and I wish QPR the best.
Thank you. We'll do our best.
Yes. How's the trip going? Are you out and about yet? Have you done your first night?
My first date is this Thursday, the 8th of January, at the Churchill Theatre in Bromley.
Are you nervous?
There's always a bit of nerves involved with any public speaking. I think that's a good thing.
Good man. Loads to talk about. I'm going to start, actually. I don't know if you've got this one. Page 9 of the Daily Telegraph frightens me and should frighten everybody. Shoplifters in this country, under this government, under what's happened, are almost certain, Peter Blexley, to avoid prison. So the message is, go and nick stuff from shops. Nobody will do anything about it.
Yes, and the most disturbing aspect of this story is the shoplifters know this. So, of course, they act with impunity. That's the real danger. Until we start creating deterrence, in other words, arrest, charge, prosecution and a suitable punishment, nothing is going to change. The police can do all their performative policing, which they're such big fans of. Oh, this week we launched a shoplifting initiative in Altrincham and we arrested 17 people, for example. Yeah, that's great, but the shoplifters know that they're here today and gone tomorrow, so they go back to their thieving ways. Nothing's going to change until policing fundamentally changes and the retailers come on board. That's the ones that have non-intervention policies, of course, and we start to regain the streets, make the streets a hostile environment for thieves once again.
I mean, I agree. We're watching footage, which is, if you're not watching on YouTube, it's absolutely outrageous. 4 masked men walk into an off-licence, I guess, a convenience store, with an empty bin, you know, like one of those plastic bins, and just start emptying everything, booze, fags, everything, and that just people stand and watch the police and then just walk out. Nobody does anything. You're so right. We've always talked about police on the streets. I've got some examples of stuff up and down this country, because I hate the fact that, you know, when you're doing a show like this, it should be all over. Have you seen some of the footage that's gone out? This was a fight outside McDonald's in Leeds the other day. Have a watch of this. Well, that was Leeds. This is what happened in Waterloo. Have a look at this fight. Just have a look at this one. This is even worse. I mean, it's just there's no police in sight. What's happening? What's happening? Winter Wonderland, just fighting everywhere. Let's just bring Pete back in and close that down a minute. Pete, I'm just seeing pictures after pictures across the UK of people having fights, people breaking into places, no police wherever. And by the way, I'm not a fan of Keir Starmer, but this started with Theresa May. You don't even see police on the streets anymore, mate, and it's okay to have a punch-up because nobody's going to do anything about it.
Exactly. You've nailed it. And you see, the people to blame are the senior police officers of the last 20 or 30 years, because what they've decided, in their complete lack of any wisdom, is that patrolling the street, that Bobby on the beat, is a waste of time, because that's what their academic chums from universities told them. They did some research and they said patrolling the streets isn't actually, well, you can't measure it on a spreadsheet, so it's ineffective. Absolute hogwash. And consequently, because the streets have been surrendered, the criminals have taken over.
Yeah.
And until we can change this mindset amongst senior police officers, the chief constables, their deputies, their assistants, until we change that mindset, until we get them to appreciate and understand the value of police officers on the beat, nothing is going to change.
So you the way you say that is the way I say it. So explain to me in layman's terms, until we convince people in charge that putting men and women in the police on the streets will cause less chaos and less anarchy, how have we allowed people to be in charge who are that bloody stupid they can't see that for themselves?
OK, well, I've heard their words. I know what they say by way of trying to excuse themselves. What they say is, OK, so Bobby's on the beat worked in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s possibly.
Right.
But then what happened was policing had to start looking at matters that happen behind closed doors. Domestic violence, child sexual offences. OK, and to a point, they do have a point.
Yeah.
But what they did was they took all the resources off the streets virtually and put them all into investigating things behind closed doors. They thought the streets would take care of themselves because they're daft, they're stupid, they're unconnected from what actually goes on in real life.
And I think the thing that people would say is, this is my opinion, it's just my opinion, don't have to agree with it or not, completely agree about domestic violence and sexual attacks, but we seem to, as a country, almost entirely have gone too far to the way, for want of a better phrase. So we've taken all the men and women off the streets to make sure that we do these behind closed doors, add hurty words and sending 6 police round to somebody who says they don't like a teacher at school. And so it's almost like everything, Pete, in this country. Diversity a little bit is OK. We've gone to the point where unless you're a certain colour, a certain age or a certain sexuality, you don't get it. Have you heard my story about my friend's daughter's son? Got a fantastic degree at Durham. 22, wanted to work in the finance. They'd done an internship in London in the financial markets, played semi-professional rugby, 6'2", 23, 24, white kid, just a nice kid. Wrote 200 interviews, CVs for interviews, over a year, heard absolutely jack. Got drunk one night with a mate who told him what to do, and he wrote under his sexual preference, non-binary, and got 4 interviews on my children's life in 3 weeks. It's rubbish, man. It's rubbish.
Yeah. And the police are captured by that kind of ideology because all their chiefs went off to university and got brainwashed. But what they didn't realise is that surrendering the streets means that the criminals will move in. And it goes beyond the shoplifting epidemic. These fights that you've been showing on those clips this morning, knife crime, people carrying weapons with impunity, because there is no danger, there is no fear of turning the corner and a police officer saying, hello, what's going on here then? Turn your pockets out, sunshine.
Because they go, it's against my human rights and I'm filming you and you're a racist and you're far right and you can't... I know, world's gone nuts. Also, just, we did the old migrant tracker. I'd like to introduce a new tracker for 2026. Prisoners who have escaped. Over the weekend, 3 more, including a murderer. What is going on? Why can't prisons just keep people in prison?
Because the entire criminal justice system is in a state of crisis. From policing at the front line, which we've discussed, then to the CPS underperforming, underfunded, it will say. Then we go to the courts, then we go to the prisons, then we go to probation. The whole system is wrecked. It's not functioning like it should do. And as a consequence, prisoners get mistakenly released or can walk out of open prisons with impunity. And do you know what the really serious aspect of all this is? It boils down to you, me, everybody in your studio, everybody listening, everybody watching, being a little less safe than we used to be. And when we feel less safe, we're less happy. And this is one unhappy nation.
Couldn't agree more. Just very quickly, one of Starmer's things in that speech with Kunzberg yesterday in that interview was, and he kept saying it, reforms this, reforms that, far right, blah, blah, blah. And he said, for him, being British is about being diverse. I want to ask a man who served the Met, who's truly what I would call a patriot, Peter Bleksley, what does being British mean to you, my friend?
Well, let me use that phrase from Mr. Starmer. And do you know what? He's right. I love a Chinese. I love a curry. I've got mates who were born in this country, who are brown, who are black, who contribute to this society, who have raised wonderful kids and are as British as bacon and eggs. But that is to a point, you see, balance. What none of us voted for, including my black and brown mates, is unfettered, illegal immigration into this country, which changes the demographic hugely, alters the landscape and destroys British culture.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Listen, we wish you luck. And just give out, because we always do it for you, 160 dates over the last months. If you want to go and see PB, it's a one-man show. It's fantastic. How do they get tickets, Pete?
Please go to peterbleksley.com. All the dates are on there and you can buy your tickets. Thank you very much.
Freebies on the way to us. Good man. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to say a very quick good morning to John. John, you're on Talk Breakfast. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Fine. I'm in Brighton. It's lovely and snowy, very picturesque, and I'm enjoying your programme.
Fine. You're very kind of you. I'm confused. It says Marbella. What do you want to talk about?
OK. Well, I usually I agree with everything your people say, especially Peter there, but I'm sorry I have to disagree about this shoplifting issue. The reason why this shoplifting is going on is because if the police intervene or the security guards intervene, they will be prosecuted. The courts are so lefty-orientated in this country. Tony Blair managed to fill up the whole legal system with a load of lefties. And as you know now, Keir Starmer is going to recruit a whole load of magistrates. And you can imagine what political persuasion they will be.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I guess what Peter and I would say to you is we've got to a point where, listen, when I was a kid, you were scared of the police tapping you on the shoulder or taking you home to your mum. That was a fact.
Respect for them too.
Absolutely, but there is no respect, and that comes from there being none on the street. That comes from the rules that they can't do this and they can't do that. We're as soft as what's it from top to bottom, and that's the problem. The police should be feared. I'm sorry if people don't like that, but if you break the law, you should be punished. If you get found out you've done a crime, you should be put in prison. You shouldn't be allowed out after a week. But, I mean, what was that story we were talking about? I don't know if you heard this earlier with Poppy or was it Sarah? I don't know. A criminal guy, this is obviously an illegal migrant, sadly, was put in jail because he broke the law, right? After a couple of months, so traumatised was he by the experience of court, or jail rather, that he paid, or rather got us to pay for a human rights lawyer to sue the Home Office, and they've given him £250,000 because of the trauma of jail. It's nuts. You broke the law. Deal with it. I don't listen. I don't disagree with you. I really appreciate your call. John, what is it, 9 minutes to 9 to the break. Paula, hello.
Morning, Jeremy. Great show. Congratulations on it. Going really well. I just want to say, if we go to the right, I think that means that we're right? I don't understand Keir Starmer. I don't think anyone understands him, not even his own party. Honestly, Jez, like Monday, yay, let's all go back to work. Yay, well, I'm not Britain. I've actually got a chest infection, a rotten cold, and I'm having to drive down the M25 into London from Essex to go to work. And it's just bumper to bumper to bumper. So, yeah, great start to the new year. Oh, dear, never mind. Happy Monday. Paula from London.
I was sat in the tent and he was showing me through photos of his phone, scrolling through. This was barbaric, horrific stuff. Blokes going through walls in vehicles and then jumping out and shooting everyone. His WhatsApp picture was him with a mask on, with a gun like that.
You're in a tent with this guy?
I'm in a tent with this guy, and actually he's just showing me this stuff. I'm just thinking, this is not the kind of bloke you want to be coming to the UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Almost 5 to 9. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the Queen of Westminster, here from 10 o'clock this morning, sounding great as ever. Ian Collins from 1 and Peter Carbell on Drive this afternoon. Loads to crack on with. Trevor Kavanagh, Matthew Torbitt go head-to-head in the next hour. We've loads of stuff. I just want to remind you, though, we just threw this out about an hour ago. Starmer yesterday saying to be British is to be diverse. He didn't say it like that. I'm just doing it. It gets me through the morning. What does being British mean to you? Good morning, Jennifer. Starmer does not know what a woman is, so how can he say what it is to be British? I'm a 73-year-old widow struggling to keep my head above water on the lowest state pension, having worked every day of my life. Tasha's in Bexhill. Being British is about being fair but tough. It's about manners, morals and Christian values. I'm not a Christian, Jez, but I believe strongly in cultural and Christian values. It's not about race, colour or creed. It's about family. It's about kinship. And it's about a belief in the red, white and blue. It's about being proud of our nation. It's not about bringing other cultural beliefs into our nation. We don't want halal. We will still want women to be treated with manners and courtesy. So you can shove Sharia law. But it's about being open, but it's not about denouncing everything that brought us up. Just very quickly, who is this? Hi, Jez. Being British, whilst being proud of being British, I'm much more proud of being English born and bred. I love our culture of standing in a queue, being polite to females, talking to your neighbours, helping each other, going to a pub, watching a football game, just enjoying our once great way of life. Starmer and the Tories did away with all of this, with diversity and wokeness. It is a sad, sad time. I'll just throw it out to you, 87222. What does being British mean to you? More of those in the next hour. 5 to 9, they push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From The Sun.
Let's get our sports update for Monday. Jack Ross, the sports reporter at The Sun, you are banned from talking about the crappiest football team in the history of the world. I hope West Ham are relegated. They are a disgrace. I don't want to talk about it.
Happy Monday, Jeremy.
Oh, mate, that honestly, and I genuinely mean this, I want them to go down. It's appalling.
I think you'll get your wish, won't you?
I just don't see how anything else. I'm finding myself going, I want Leeds to survive. Honestly, I'm past the West Ham thing. It's a nightmare.
They are getting to a point where I think it's felt inevitable now for a little while. They've been getting worse and worse since David Moyes left the club. I still think it was probably the right decision for them to part ways. I don't know whether you agree with that.
How can it be? What, David Moyes? That is typical bloody not you, bloody West Ham fans who went, oh, it's not expansive. No, he came 6th, 7th, 6th and 8th and won a European trophy.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I just feel that towards the end it got a bit stale. But I don't know if that was his fault or the recruitment, really, because what he was given was not good enough and it's got worse and worse ever since. And now they're spending nearly 50 million on a couple of strikers that no one's ever heard of, and it's probably the same old thing that will go round and round, and it won't solve the problem. And you just look at them, especially that performance, voted back to the Premier League, really.
I couldn't agree more. Interestingly, we haven't got long, but Maresca left Chelsea, apparently didn't like the inference of United attacking his bosses at United, saying, I came here as manager, not as a coach. That's all over the back of The Sun today. Is he a dead man walking as well, Amorim?
I mean, it feels it. It's fantastic, isn't it? These managers that suddenly grow a backbone and decide to take on their managers out in their bosses out in the public. It's a bit delusional. I think both of them signed up to be head coaches, Maresca and Amorim, and now suddenly decide they want to flip the table and change their titles halfway through and grab some more power. They knew what they were walking into. It does feel a bit short-sighted from United to hire a manager in Amorim whose squad is so ill-suited to the way he wants to play, and it was very clear how they wanted to play. But fair play to him. It's fantastic copy. I hope he keeps coming out with comments like this because it keeps us all engaged.
Can I also, I have loved it. A lot of people who go, what? The World Darts is just our sister station, TalkSport, majoring on it. Absolutely fantastic. How good is Luke Littler? On a serious note, I was slightly worried when he started saying, you're paying for my prize money. 18 years of age. Unbeatable, isn't he, almost?
It's incredible. I think we can forgive him the comments, given, like you said, he's 18 years old. But the way he played against Van Veen lost his head a little bit and missed a few chances, but he wasn't playing that badly. His average was over 100, and Littler just blew him away. It was, it wasn't a dramatic final that everyone hoped for, but I think the level he was at was just incredible to watch.
Jack, you're a legend. Who do you support, by the way?
Southampton, so we won't talk about yesterday.
4-0. Thanks, Jack Rosser. Sun reporter, you're a legend. Thank you very much indeed. All of that in the back of the amazing Sun today. We're heading to 9 o'clock. Julia here in an hour. Trevor Kavanagh, Matthew Torbett. To right, to left, go head to head on the way on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. 0344 419 1000. 87222 for your text. What do you think makes you British? What is it about being British? News is next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning. We continue. Just gone 9 o'clock. Julia here from 10, Ian Collins from 1 and Peter Carbell on Drive. That is your talk lineup for Monday, the 5th of January 2026. The brand new Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show, the home of the alarm clock Brits of common sense. Have you say, so much going on today. You're waking up to the news that Keir Starmer has confidently told Laura Kunsberg on the BBC, because he won't come on here, that he will be here in 12 months' time. That bearing in mind that we're humiliated on the world stage. Donald Trump doesn't give a toss about Sir Keir Starmer. Most of the left wing of his party wanted to condemn what happened in Venezuela and want him out, if not before May, after May. It's all going on. But perhaps the most annoying thing yesterday that he did in that interview was to tell us that being British is about diverse... Just play this, will you, before I headbutt the wall?
The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse.
Very interesting. Pete says, to be British is to ignore rubbish touted by left-wing haters of this country, especially the farce of a Prime Minister. He also talked about the threat of reform and made it absolutely clear in his mind to us that reform, if elected, would go to the right. We've had several people text going, well, it would be right. No, I'm not condoning that. And that as far as he was concerned, they would deliver toxic, diverse, racist, right-wing madness. Jeremy, good morning, Jeremy.
Morning, Jezza. Great to see you on your new show. From another Jeremy here in snowy Newbury. Yeah, just thinking of Keir Starmer there reminds me of the Beyonce song, to the left, everything you own in a box to the left. What a ridiculous plonker. Have a good day, mate.
There's an overriding belief that a lot of the people leaving voice notes this morning sound really hacked off. Is it because it's back to work Monday? I've no idea. But thank you, Jeremy, from snowy Newbury. The only place it's not snowing is my house, and my kids are nuts. Paul in Fife. Hey, don't know why I did that. The Americans have with complete ease taken out the corrupt leader of a South American country at the same time as our so-called leaders can't bloody well find anybody that's anything to do with a people smuggling gang. That... Yes, that just about sums it up. Natasha says, Happy New Year, Jez. Massive shout out to your caller Lillian from Birmingham. What a star, summing up how horrible Starmer is, who doesn't care one jot about the British people, just using us to pay for his socialist ideology. We might play that call again before the end, because Lillian, Richard says, yes, Lillian, can I adopt a granny? Love her. It's slightly worrying. Jez, the only thing, Julia says, that's toxic is Starmer. He's deluded. Get him out now. The country can't take another 3 years of this idiot. Well, let's talk about this. Let's do what I'm now calling our head-to-head on a Monday. No reason for that. It's just it's just the way it is. We say a very good morning to the former political editor of The Sun. He'll be on one side of the screen if it all works. Good morning, Trevor Kavanagh. Happy New Year to you.
Good morning, Jeremy, and the same to you.
On the right, Trevor Kavanagh, very clever. And on the left, a man who shows his dedication, is the only lefty allowed on this station. He should have been in the studio, but because he voted for a party that's destroyed the transport system, the tubes are all buggered, so he's outside somewhere on a phone. Good morning, Matthew Torbett.
Good morning for that, Jez. Appreciate it.
Where are you, pal? Where is he? There he is.
I was halfway here. I'm now in Waterloo Station in a coffee shop trying not to annoy everybody around me.
All right, well, listen, we appreciate very much the commitment. Gentlemen, let's start with that Keir Starmer interview, Trevor. Yesterday, Laura Kunsberg, he said that after his New Year message, it is harder than it should be, but things are going to improve. I will be here in 12 months. Many people this morning, which will make you both laugh, saying that if Trump can go into Venezuela and remove a despot in 3 hours, could we not ask the American Special Forces, in the covert way that they do things in the dead of night, to go into Downing Street and take Keir Starmer off to Guantanamo Bay? Trevor Kavanagh?
Lovely idea. I mean, look, it can't really get any worse, and yet Keir Starmer's saying it's all going to get much better. It's hard to understand quite where he gets the evidence for this, because the economy, while there are signs of life in the economy, admittedly, but nothing to do with this government and its policies. It's all down to any private enterprise that is beginning to show some glimmer of hope. So nothing to do with his tax policies, his national insurance policies, his workers' rights on day one. all the things that are damaging jobs and employment prospects for the young unemployed or people who are leaving school today. So he says that any attempt to change leaders now would not be in the national interest. It's arguable that the whole Labour government is not in the national interest.
Interesting. Now, let's bear in mind, before we bring Matt in, that Matt Corbett, on the night that Keir Starmer won the last election, he said on national television, that's as good as it gets. I look at him, Matthew, now, and I see fear and confusion in his eyes. He is a dead man walking, isn't he?
He is, but unfortunately, I could see how he could see out 2026 and possibly even his full term. The thought depresses me, but I don't think it'd be because of any sort of policy. I don't think it'd be any sort of idea that the economy may turn around. I think it'd be out of sheer incompetence of other people in the Labour Party or people lacking the courage, organisation or the conquest, to put it bluntly, to take him on and say, no, we have to have a change, which is why he's leaning into the idea of more progressive policies, cozying up to the single market. This is bad, it would let Farage in, or even what about the markets? If that isn't somebody without much of a plan or a policy platform, then I don't know what is.
It's quite interesting as well, both of you, that having, whether he's given this some thought, but this seems to be a sort of general synopsis of this morning, that people are saying, Trev, that he's worked out that the right is sewn up and that the only way that he can perhaps gain a bit of ground is to start hoovering up the many left-wing votes that he's lost, if you look at the opinion polls, to the Greens and to the Liberal Democrats. And that would be why he's suddenly coming out with, you know, I want to get closer to Brexit and I want to do this and I want to do that. The irony of that, of course, is what happened in Venezuela, because all those left-wing socialists are jumping up and down going, why are you not condemning what Donald Trump did? He's stuck between the devil and the deep blue, isn't he, Trev?
Well, absolutely. I think that he can see what he needs to do. He doesn't really personally want to do it, and he knows that if he does, I mean, move to the right and do things about the national debt and the splurge in welfare spending and so on, I think that he would lose his majority in the party, he'd lose his seat if he did the right thing. And so he's imprisoned by his own policy and by his own party.
Can you help me out, Matt? As I've said, you're one of the few lefties I respect. So you've... Even Farage said that what Trump did could be construed as breaking international law. But if I just put that to one side, because we've had breaking news this morning, he's warned Columba, he wants Greenland, and I jokingly said, why doesn't he come here and get Starmer? He faces a revolt by Labour majorist apologists. Party's tearing itself apart as left-wing MPs, Diane Abbott, Maduro, all that. And I found myself, for the first time in my political history of interest, agreeing with Diane Abbott yesterday, who said, how does a Prime Minister who's based his entire professional career on being a human rights law and what's right and what's wrong, not be able to stand up and condemn? Is this not a prime example of a man who tries to be all things to all people and falls flat on his backside as a result?
Yes, pretty bluntly. I think I had this discussion yesterday. People were talking about how he really didn't want us to leave the European Union. Interesting thing that people forget about Keir Starmer is he came to that idea of a second referendum and appearing on stage with groups like that right at the last moment because it was politically opportune for him to do so. You had others like John McDonnell out well before him, Emily Thornberry doing the same. It worked for him to do it then because it was a useful pitch to the leadership. Anything he says now is because he's fighting for his political survival. So his real beliefs, we don't know. I don't know if we will ever know. Really, if you believe in international rules-based order and international law, you would have concerns, at the very least, about events that happened over the weekend in Venezuela.
Can I ask you, though, and this isn't a dig, and I'll come to you in a sec, Trev, all the people that what I call the proper socialists, you know, Bergen and all, whatever his name is, Richard Bergen and Obdana, and Corbyn, why were they so supportive of a regime that was Chavez, which is now Maduro, when these were dictatorial despots who caused millions of their own people to flee because of persecution? I can never understand that.
I think it's ideological blind spots. I think, look, listen, I'm on paper a socialist, but if somebody's a wrong, then they're a wrong, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing it in the name of whatever ideology you could proclaim to speak for. And the idea is you're probably not really what you say you are. So I think for them, it's the dying embers of a world they wish that was a thing, and therefore they'll go out. Or it's the same with anything. It's tribalism. If you're on the blue team, you'll go out and back your blue mates until it isn't useful politically. The same on the red side, and it's stuff like that. And I think it's a lack of independent thinking. Really, it's sad.
Trev, where do you stand on the whole Venezuela thing? I mean, I thought Poppy Coburn, it made me laugh. I thought Poppy Coburn at 6:15 this morning nailed it when she said, even with the things that I disagree with over Trump, I find myself sometimes just smiling because at least he does what he says he's going to do. What do you think? Has he broken international law? Or is this a precursor for what's to come?
Well, I think technically, yes, he has broken international law. He's simply gone in and removed a leader. But that leader was illegitimate in any case. And Venezuela, along with Nicaragua and the other states in that area, Cuba and so on, are threats to the American state in various ways, either through drugs and so on, or helping the adversaries of the United States, China and Russia, especially the Venezuelan oil fields, are the biggest in the world, and they are being used by Russia and China. So these are bigger issues than simply the removal of a man who was, in fact, an illegal president. He simply grabbed the post and used the military to keep everybody who opposed it under threat. So,
I suppose what I'm saying is, and I'm sort of, I actually genuinely hand on heart am on the fence about it, and I'm being honest about that. We all agree he's broken international law. It's the United States of America. You'd sort of prefer him to come out and say, it's about the oil, it's about Russia, it's about China. It's not about some horrible little despot who probably shouldn't be there. And, you know, I'm going to come up with some charge, whether it's viable or not, I'm going to do that. Because it begs the question, both of you, does it not? However many other countries are there with dictatorial despots, does that mean he's going to go and get them all? Or is this just convenient for the Americans right now?
Well, I don't think that there's any doubt, and I think he's actually said that oil is the essence of the reason why he's gone in. Okay, there are lots of other issues like democracy and so on, and the brutalization of the Venezuelan people, but oil is right at the top of the agenda there, and I don't think he's made any secret of that.
Matt?
No, I don't think democracy plays a part in this. I think if so, he would be saying things you would expect him to say, which is, maybe we should be installing the person that we thought won the last election, not Nicolas Maduro fixing it for himself. Maybe we should be having elections in 60 days. All we currently know at the moment is the oil people are going in, and that is it. So I think it's very clear that the reasoning for it, I think my concern more broadly is, what does this legitimise? What is to stop Vladimir Putin going, we're going to go and collect Zelensky now? What's happened with China and Taiwan? And maybe there isn't anything. Maybe there wasn't any rules at all, really. We've all just pretended all along. But it's dangerous, very dangerous, I think. And that's not to say that Nicolas Maduro was not an awful man that the Venezuelans for a long time have wanted
it's
to
the
get
precedent. For me, it's not just the precedent it sets, guys, but it's also what happens afterwards. It's all well and good, but let's think about the mess that's been left behind when this has happened before and what happens. Trev, can I just, with both of you, just go on to this other thing that is really winding my lot up this morning. The PM is being accused of a new Brexit betrayal as he plots a return to the single market. He said he wanted to pursue even closer alignment with the single market. In a signal, he's planning yet another manifesto breach. We've heard repeatedly, we won't raise council tax. Yes, you have. You'll have cheaper energy bills. No, they've gone up. I will not do this. I mean, there are many on the right who fear that it's always been their mantra to get us back, and they'll say Brexit didn't work, and then the people on the right will say, because you didn't let it work. But this is a man who, again, it seems, is about to do the dirty via his manifesto, Trevor Kavanagh. How can anybody believe a word he says?
Well, that's a given. Nobody can believe a word that he says, or as long as he says it, how long does it last? But look, this has always been on the cards. Keir Starmer has made it clear, even when he was Brexit minister, that what he wants is to re-enter the European Union. He then, as we've been told this morning, wanted a second referendum. Now, had he the courage to say we are going to have a second referendum, then I think we would have to accept that as Prime Minister he's entitled to do so. But he's not. He's doing it by stealth, by the back door. And I think that, as he has actually admitted himself, Britain and the British taxpayers will pay dearly for the process of actually getting any access to the single market or the customs union or any other policy that we benefit from at their expense. They will make us pay.
Matt, I know you're probably smoother on Europe than perhaps Trevor is. Many people on your side of the fence would say the reason we've got mass immigration, the reason that we've got the problems that we got, is because we left the European Union. Do you think the British public will swallow the Labour government cozying up to them?
No. Sorry, you're talking to me. Sorry,
no, sorry, Trevor.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
Their hope is that if you look at most current polling, people seem to say they either regret voting Brexit or that they think it's gone badly. He's going to try and tie that to Nigel Farage. If Keir Starmer survives, I have no doubt that entering the single market or something similar will be in the next general election manifesto, and that will be the dividing line. Will it work? I don't know. People are fed up. And I think the problem is, listen, I was a reluctant Remainer. I saw bad on all sides, and both arguments were pretty poor, I thought, during the referendum. But we had an election, we had a referendum result, and you have to respect that. And now, if you cancel your gym membership and decide you want to go back in piecemeal by piecemeal, they'll make you pay, and that's what the EU will make us do. It's going to cost us billions to go back into a customs union. We'll have to undo the trade deals which we've been championing all this time and saying, you know, we're now making loads of money off the back of it, and aren't we great? So I'm not sure. I'd say it's a bit of a gamble, but they're going to try and make Farage the bogeyman of why everything is so bad at the moment. I'm not sure whether it would work or not, to be honest with you.
Sorry, Trev. No, completely, Matt. Get it. What were you saying, Trevor? Sorry.
Well, I was just agreeing with Matt there that this is basically something that really must be tested. A referendum simply cannot be overturned by a future government. I mean, that was a decision made by the British people. And if he really believes that we should be back in and pay the price that we will have to pay, and we'll have to go in with much more inferior terms than we had when we were actual members, I think that needs to be put to and debated with the British people. He cannot do it by stealth and expect to get credit for it.
Finally, and Matt, bless you for sitting in the coffee shop. Can I just ask you this? So in that speech, and I said it to you at the beginning about being British, so I'm going to put you both on the spot. Starmer said that being British is about diversity, being British is about being reasonable. If we vote for reform, it'll be blah, 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 blah. Let's forget reform a minute and forget Labour. Let's talk about Matthew Torbett. What does being British mean to you?
Oh, I'm a bit old school. I'd never win the election because I'd say it's wheelchairs outside Wetherspoons. It's England fans abroad. It's, you know, it's about people getting together and having a bit of a laugh. I wouldn't use the words diverse, but I see it a bit differently. I think most people would see diverse as talking about skin colour or immigration or whatever. You've heard me before. I see diverse as class, and I think people on different echelons of the class system not putting one another down. That's the way I see diverse. But I think British is the England football team and stuff like that. That's my sort of lazy rhetoric on it.
I love it. Trevor, what does being British mean to you?
Well, I know what diversity means to me. It means divisiveness. It doesn't mean harmony. I think it means that we are being colonized in certain towns and cities in ways which we will find irreversible. It isn't lovely to see sort of prospect as we go down the route of the Islamification of the Britain and Europe. This is not harmony at all, and diversity will, as I say, be the result of division. That is not Britain as we've known it, all three of us.
I said earlier, I don't know what you both think, just to finish, I think that we've got hung up on the word because I think we've done what we've done so often in so many things and gone too far. We talked to Blexley earlier. There's now absolutely no policemen and women on the streets, and shoplifting, if you read the Telegraph, you know that you're going to get away with it. People are walking into off-licence with bins and just doing it, and the people are stood there because the police ain't coming. I don't like prejudice at all, but we've gone to a point now, and I told the story earlier about a friend's son-in-law who tried for a year to get a job. And then a mate of his jokingly said, put down non-binary under sexual gratification. He got a first-class honours degree, semi-professional rugby player, and got 4 interviews in 3 weeks. We've gone the other way now. We've gone the other way that anybody who would consider themselves, Matt, normal English born here, whatever, is at the back of the bleeding queue. So I'm open to people being integrated, but it's gone, to me, it's gone mad. And so when people hear the word diversity, they go, oh, my God. Listen, what can I say? This is going to be a regular thing. Trevor Kavanagh, in the warmth of his home, having had a latte and some toast, and poor Matt Corbett on his own in a cafe, can't even afford a coffee, Put it on expenses, Matthew. Guys, thank you so much indeed. We'll see you next week. Thank you for that. Matthew Torbett and Trevor Kavanagh on Talk Breakfast. Julia's here at 10 o'clock. By God, it's busy this morning. Still to come, we're going to release the identity. I'm not going to call her my co-host. I'm going to say that she's going to be on this programme a lot in the next few months, and we're going to send her out as an intrepid reporter on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. And at that moment, you've put up a picture of Julia Hartley-Brewer. It's not Julia Hartley-Brewer. She's got her own programme. She'll be here at 10 o'clock. I will be... it's gone now. I will be releasing the identity of the person who's going to become the Challenge Annika-esque person on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very good morning, 9:25. We're live across the UK. We just picked up on something that Starmer said yesterday, which is basically what he thinks. I'm going to play it again. This is what Keir Starmer thinks it means to be British, ladies and gentlemen. Have a listen.
The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse.
Jim in Warwick says, Sir Keir Starmer tells us that diversity is at the core of Britishness. The only diversity he wants is the diversity of hordes of illegals who one way or another get to stay here and get a vote. Paul in Liverpool says, Jeremy, to be British is everything we were pre-2000. Not being British is everything we have become, i.e. diversity and the multicultural, which is the biggest failure in British political history. James says, when Starmer keeps calling groups like Reform UK far right, the term loses its meaning. Words that's serious should be used carefully because if they're thrown at anyone who disagrees, people stop taking them seriously. That makes it harder to spot and challenge real extremists, whilst also shutting down fair debate and turning politics into name-calling rather than honest conversation. Ooh. Joanna from Salisbury. Hi, Jezza. To be British no heating, struggling to meet the bills as a pensioner that's paid in all her life with 49 years pension credits. If you're ex-military on the street, being taxed and drained of your savings to pay for the illegals arriving, being put first to sit in the warm, complain about the food and work tax-free in our black economy. That is how many of you see what's going... Oh, Ted, being British is easy. Just love your country, love freedom and don't abuse your freedom to limit others. Damon says what it means to be British today is to lay down and be walked all over, being controlled by our government and constantly being told how bad it is to actually be British in the first place. Fighting across Britain. Tom, I will tell you where it all went wrong. A word called discipline. Started with home, then to schools. Discipline is now non-existent. Feral youths will now do what they like and get away with it. There's so much to do. Have I got... if you were watching earlier, we were talking to Peter Blexley about how there just seems to be violence across the country. There were scenes at McDonald's in Waterloo and up north. There was a massive punch-up at Winter Wonderland as well. No police to be seen at all. Peter, what's your take on it all?
I'm disgusted. Winter Wonderland. If they can't stop a bunch of thugs having a punch-up, right, with security, how the hell is a place like that going to stop a terrorist act? It's absolutely ridiculous. This country is now out of control.
So much happiness. Here we are with the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show on Talk, the home of free speech, common sense, but the home of the alarm clock Brit. We say a very, very good morning to, well, a lady with a big smile on her face, Isabel Oakeshott, newly engaged to Richard Tice. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Yes, it was a lovely start to the new year.
I did what you told me to do at 7 o'clock. Did you hear?
No, what did you do?
He said new.
Telling you to do anything.
No, this is what he did. He didn't say. He said it's a new year. He didn't go new fiance. He put new tie, something else, and then he went new fiance. And I said congratulations, and he said, oh, thank you very much, Steve. And I went, but don't think you're getting away with it, Tice, because don't think that she's going to think this is real until you've put a massive diamond ring on her finger.
And what did he say?
He went, oh, what did he say? He said, there's time for that. Patience, patience. And I know what your thing is. You're going to marry her without having to buy an engagement ring. Well, if you do that, she's walking away from you.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I think you're hired, Jeremy. You'll keep him straight.
It's true, though, isn't it? He needs to buy your ring. Congratulations, though, mate. Well, I'd say well-deserved. Lovely. Happy for you both. And don't forget, very happy to do the disco in the evening at the Do. Isabel... no
one says disco anymore. I mean, I tried this word on my kids and they were like, what's that?
I know.
That just ages you.
Mate, honestly, that is so brilliant what you've just said. I look like a right tit there, didn't I? You're absolutely spot on. Who says disco? Nobody. All right, why are you not all laughing through the glass? Go and sign on. Right, Isabel Oakeshott, I'm going to play you a clip. We've heard lots about Starmer, about what it is to be British. But yesterday, in his interview with Laura Kunsberg, he took aim at your party, Reform, and what he saw as the threat of your party and what it would lead to in this country. Have a listen.
It'll be a Labour government up against a very right-wing proposition in Reform. And that Reform proposition will be a proposition of toxic divide of this country. The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? Mm-hmm. And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse. And that is the essence of Britishness. That will be challenged at the next election by Reform, and this country, if Reform wins, will be torn apart in a toxic way. And my strong sense of history tells me that if a right-wing proposition like that gets in with that toxic divide and things don't go the way they pretend they will, and they won't, they will move to the right, to the right, to the right.
Isabel Oakeshott, your response to that little look at her, she's got her head in her hands.
Oh,
right.
Gosh. There is so much to unpick there. I mean, what's he talking about? Very right wing, just absolutely ridiculous. You know, the proposals on the Reform agenda are really mainstream, and the reason the party is so far ahead in the polls is because they're proposals that people actually want. You know, Keir Starmer there trying to suggest that this is some kind of off the reservation fringe sort of thing. Far from it. You know, if he continues in this tone, then the job for the Reform Party will actually be quite easy, I think. And this fetishization of diversity, you know, banging on about, you know, how being British is being diverse. You know, as Trevor Kavanagh was saying a few minutes ago, this obsession with diversity is actually our undoing. It is the opposite of what it's meant to imply, because if you have, as Keir Starmer referenced there, a live and let live attitude, then what you have is no unity, nothing that unifies everybody, and a total collapse of behavioural standards. And I know that's something that you've been focusing on a bit on your show this morning, you know, this kind of mob behavior, thuggish, yobbish behavior, fights breaking out, you know, as if this is just sort of shrug, okay. Well, that is what is born of a live and let live attitude. We need to return to something quite different, or move forward to something quite different.
I thought it was really interesting that he's so stupid to I mean, look, let me read this from Steve in Essex, which I think you'd agree sums it up. He says, classic Starmer, there was a time when I was offended by his far right accusations, but he's so overused it now that none of us are offended or concerned at all. I don't give a toss. He can make what comments he wants. He's not the man who should be running this country. The interesting thing for me, Isabel, is when he talked about divisive toxicity. He's going to do that. He's terrified of the threat of reform. He talked about diversity. He talked about what it is to be British and implied that reform, you know, is not about Great Britain. And as you said it, look, there was a poll yesterday. Do you know about this More in Common poll yesterday?
I do.
16,000 people, big sample. If there was a general election today, based on those 16, the prediction is that reform would take 381 seats for an overall majority. I think the British people, whether they support reform or not, are no longer going to swallow him just dissing Farage and his party as some sort of mad right-wing conspiratorial bunch of nutters, because it's not like that. Because as you said just then, millions and millions of people are clamouring for change. And whether it's reform or, I have to say this without being sick, the Greens or the Liberal Democrats, you know, one has to do that one once brought up. But at the end of the day, this is the 160th poll that reform's led in, and that tells you what the British people are saying. That would be my opinion. But he just doesn't seem to get it, does he?
Doesn't get it at all. It's actually quite comical. I mean, He is just so feeble in his rhetoric. And I think this championing of diversity is going to be a great recruiting sergeant for other parties, because most people don't think, oh, what is it to be British? Their answer isn't diverse. You know, I was actually wondering about this. What do I think it is to be British? You know what worries me? I don't actually know anymore what it means to be British. There's no easy answer to that. And that should be very troubling indeed.
It's really interesting that you said that. I had this exact conversation over dinner on Saturday night before I even knew this. We're not allowed to be proud of anything this country's achieved in the past. We have to tear down monuments. Apparently Churchill's a racist. I fight against all of this forever. We can't say well done. We can't be white, middle class and 25 and try and get a job, because it doesn't go like that anymore. You can't open the door for a woman like I did in the lift the other day and got looked at like I was a piece of crap. Honestly, you can't tell a joke for fear of being cancelled. And as somebody who's been cancelled, don't give a toss. But at the end of the day, we are, I think, in a position where we all watch what we say, how we act, and that's not British. We had a stiff upper lip, but we like to laugh. Nobody bloody laughs anymore. Nobody laughs. If you tell a joke in the office, right, everybody's like, oh, God, is somebody going to take that in the wrong way? Oh, sod off. Can't do it myself.
I think we should keep going with it. We certainly have a laugh here on this station, don't we?
You're very nice. Morning, Jez. I run Affinity Wedding DJs, and I'd be more than happy to DJ Isabel and Richard's wedding reception as long as it's in England, not Dubai. Jason in Lincoln offering you a freebie.
There we go. Keep them coming, folks. And,
I want to do the disco at the honestly, we'll have to. Are you going to be Isabel Tice?
No, I'm Isabel Oakeshott and always will be. You know, as a writer and a broadcaster, you go by your own name.
Let's talk about Venezuela. Yeah, my name's not Kyle. It's Bear. Let's talk about Venezuela. I talked to Richard earlier. Nigel said over the weekend that it is a break, if you like, of international law. And we're not altogether sure whether it's about narcotics or the bigger issue of oil. Today on the show, we've already heard that, I mean, there were rumours about he's going to Greenland. Today he's warned Colombia. Where do you stand on this? It's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, it's an extraordinary... I don't know if you saw the tweet from the Americans. They're very proud of what they've achieved. But is it as much about sending a message, do you think?
I mean, there's a lot going on here, isn't there? I mean, instinctively, I like the deposing of terrible rulers who are running terrible regimes in which the people of their countries are living in poverty and not benefiting at all from the great national assets of that country, and that is Venezuela down to a T. I think Nigel Farage had it right when he said the approach here was unorthodox, but there may well be good justification for what has happened. I'm not sure about Greenland. I think that's probably a step too far, but I think Cuba is a very interesting one, and the Trump administration is extremely concerned about what's going on there. And inside Cuba, there is quite a lot of anticipation that their country could be the next target. It's fascinating the way that Trump has gone about this, and over in a heartbeat, wasn't it? I listened to his slightly rambling press conference on it, and this is Trump all over, the unpredictability of it, the fact that the world is now on its toes. I think the Iranian regime probably doesn't have very long to last. I think sources tell me within the Trump administration, they're giving it probably 6 months. So there are huge geopolitical shifts happening under this president.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? I mean, I wanted to ask you, if you put what you've just said against domestically about Starmer, he's been absolutely slaughtered, as I mentioned earlier briefly, by the left wing of his party. I just want to ask you something, as somebody who understands politics far more than me. All the, these Richard Burgons and these Diane Abbotts and all these people who, and Corbyn, they were, when before Mandela there was Chavez, of course, and they're all Venezuela and they'd raised their red flags. How do those on the left, those sort of communists, as I call them, how do they ally in their brains that millions of people fled that country because of persecution and hundreds of thousands were killed, and that the man that did this lived in a pampered palace and the rest of them were on their arses? How do socialists deal with that then? I don't think that sounds very fair at all.
Well, they don't deal with it, do they? Because they don't think anything beyond the surface level. I mean, I have a very good friend from Venezuela and was astonished when she told me that in Venezuela, ordinary people still get food parcels. That's how it works. And they're not good food parcels. We're not talking a nice hamper from Fortnum and Mason's here. We're talking the absolute basics. There's a reason so many hundreds of thousands of people try to get out of Venezuela, a country that has so many assets and yet where people live with very, very few opportunities and, below the breadline. These are the same socialists that probably a great crossover of the pro-Palestinian marches, some of them great rainbow flag wearers who haven't bothered wavers, who haven't bothered recognizing that, in Gaza, you're not going to get away with the kind of diversity and inclusion that they favor. These people on the hard left, they don't actually bother about whether their arguments stack up.
Oh, can I just say about the Palestinian marches and the flag wavers and the river to the sea vile chants? There haven't been any for 2 weeks because all the middle-class students are at home with mummy and daddy for Christmas. Thought I'd drop that in. Isabel Oakeshott, it is such a pleasure to speak to you. I'm going to fire 3 quick questions at you. Does Keir Starmer, he made a big thing yesterday, I'm going to last 12 months. Does he last 12 months, yes or no?
No.
Brilliant. See, she did it right. Jack Elson went on for hours. Do you think that he will continue to push us closer to the European Union?
He'll definitely try, but it's going to make him yet more unpopular. Not a good strategy.
And as a newly engaged lady and somebody I love dearly, do you believe there's any truth in the rumour I'm trying to put around that the US Special Forces, in the dead of night, sometime in the future, are going to land in Great Britain, make their way to Downing Street, capture Keir Starmer in his Mr. Men pyjamas and get him out of this bloody country before anybody knows about it.
It's a rumour I can fully get behind. Let's go with it.
Great to speak to you, my darling. Congratulations on the news of Richard. We'll speak to you very soon. Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International Editor. 18 minutes to 10 o'clock. Julia here from 10. I'm going to introduce to you the woman who's going to work with me on this show next. And this time tomorrow, ring Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick will be here. Tony now, though.
Morning, Jeremy. Being British is queuing at the bus stop or at the bar, knowing when it's your turn to be served. Being British is taking seaside holidays in a caravan or camping, going to Blackpool or Torquay or Skegness, walking on the pier and eating fish and chips. Being British is holding the door open for a lady or respecting your elders. Being British is supporting your local football team or your country in the Euros or the World Cup, whether that's England, Ireland, Scotland or Wales. Being British is going to weddings and christenings and wetting the baby's head. Being British is having values and respect for life and remembering the people fallen in the past. Being British is remembering our heroes of war and remembering our history, whether you agree with it or not. Being British is being kind to animals and our pets and to other human beings, having a royal family and a passion for our flag and our country. Tony from Stoke-on-Trent. Keep up the good work, mate.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Quarter to 10, 15 minutes away from Julia Hartley-Brewer. Ian, as you heard there from 1, and Peter Cardwell at 4 o'clock. Now, a lady who is going to have a very... you done it again, see? Coming up, Julia, I know that. But a lady who's going to have an increased presence on the Jeremy Kyle Breakfast Show and could be coming to a town near you very, very soon. More details will emerge over the next few days. Didn't come to work today because I thought she was going to come here and we were going to talk about it. No, she's in Australia. What are you doing, Gill? Samara Gill in Australia. What are you doing there?
It's the breakfast show today. I thought it was next week, Jeremy. It's like we're still in 2025 over here.
I mean, I know the Australians are backwards, love, but what's going... No, you're supposed to be here on the 5th. No?
What? The 5th?
Yeah.
Oh, God, okay. I'm a little bit late. Look, I'll be a little bit late, but I will make up for it when I do come. I need to hop on the plane, and that's going to take about 5 business days. So you'll see me on Monday.
I love the fact that you've arrived on the breakfast show at 9:45 in the morning with a microphone, a bikini, and a trilby. Fantastic.
You're no other way. It's been a great show, Jeremy. Seriously,
thank you very much. It's not very sunny there, is it?
No, it's really not. I mean, the sun's about to go down. I've been having cocktails. I don't know what's going on anymore. I was meant to be here in London on the breakfast show. Everything's topsy-turvy.
Can we get this right, Christian? She's supposed to be here and she's drunk in South Australia somewhere. Listen, darling, very quickly, because we are going to say to people, and more will become aware next week, you will hopefully be coming to a town near you, ladies and gentlemen. Just think about all the things that are happening across this country. And one of my bugbears about any sorts of national radio shows that are based in London, and I'm being completely straight, is they become obsessed with London. We want to send Samara out wherever you are in the United Kingdom. I'm thinking about when when those very brave women down in Kent, in Epping, when that, you know, the pink ladies started saying, what about our daughters? I'm thinking about the farmers in Wales whose farms are being attacked. I'm thinking about the wind farms up north. I'm thinking about factories closing. Sorry, Christian? Absolutely. I'm thinking about the bin strikes in Birmingham. I want to see Samara Gill with rats running around. I want you to know, and we'll give you more details, that this lady, the intrepid Samara Gill, will be coming to a town, not in Australia, near you in the UK very soon. Have we got any news from Australia this morning? I mean, we were doing all right at the test, and then you buggers started doing better again, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, didn't we? And, Jeremy, all you've said is completely right. And I think it's the lost and forgotten Britain that I'm very keen to put an eye on, because they are the ones who are screaming and crying out for justice right now and not getting it. So if we can put any sort of pressure on, give Jeremy a text or give him a call, get in contact, and I will come right near you and actually see what's going on in your town. But in terms of Australia, I mean, I'm looking along the coast. We don't have any illegal dinghies coming across, do we, right now?
Nope.
Oh, wait, that's because we stopped illegal immigration 10 years ago with Operation Sovereign Borders. And look, I've got human rights. I'm wearing a bikini on the beach. There's no ECHR that sort of was taken away. This is all nonsense. So in terms of Test cricket, there was a very nice moment yesterday where Ahmed Al-Ahmed, I'm sure all of the viewers have seen the video of that brave man, the Bondi hero, going and saving many lives by taking that gun off that jihadi terrorist. He actually received a standing ovation along with a lot of the first responders and some of the Jewish people that were at that fateful Hanukkah celebration. So it was great to see some Australian spirit there. But yeah, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, I mean, he's enjoying a lot of the fruits of his labour, so to speak. Our sister station over here in Australia tried to do an interview with him. He requested a very expensive suite, as you would if you'd gone and done that and just been shot in the arm for it. And he didn't show up. And then they saw him walking out of the bar a couple hours later. So there's a little bit of drama to this hero that we talk so highly of.
Listen, one thing I want to say to you is, sweet's normal, I understand that. One thing I want to say to you is, I'll forgive you for being a week late. I'll forgive all of that. I'm looking forward to working with you immensely, but I've got a question for you. You stood on a beach in Australia where it's probably 30 degrees during the day. You've had a couple of cocktails, you'd have a swim, you can see the test match. In this country, we've got no money, the weather's crap and freezing cold, we've got a government on its backside. What on earth is wrong with you Australians? Why do you bother coming here? I want to come there.
Tell you what, I ask myself that question every day. But I think that we've got a terrible, deplorable Labour government here who is calling for a look into anti-Semitism, but not extreme Islamic extremism in this country. So we are just 5 or 10 years behind, to be honest, Jeremy. It's going to be dire. We're comfortable right now because we're living in a very cushy country with lots of resources. But this Labour government over here is going to drive us into the ground. We've got a PM that makes Starmer look, I don't know, it makes him look like a good leader, actually, I would say.
My God, he must be awful. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, she's going to be a major part of the breakfast show starting next week. She's a week late. Samara Gill, enjoy the cocktails, enjoy the beach. We'll see you in a few days. Thank you so much indeed. And just to repeat, the idea is for Samara, listen, to have an increased presence, but to come to a town near you or a city near you. What bothers you? Is it knife crime, lack of police, shoplifting, the bins, whatever it is? I'm going to send her with a microphone out to put your case live across the United Kingdom. Julia here from 10 o'clock, 10 to. Martin, what do you make of Keir Starmer, pal?
Morning, Jez. Martin here from Lichfield, and Happy New Year if it's a little bit late. Nice to see you on the news show this morning. Just a few comments on Starmer. So, his statement yesterday on Lura, I couldn't watch it because I can't stand the BBC, but he stood there yesterday and claimed that he was right. But what I write about what? He's frozen pensioners, frozen grannies. He's punished farmers, he's stalled the economy, he's diluted the workers' rights with so-called workers' rights bill, which is an absolute disaster. I think that was... Anyway, undermined our freedoms, he's crippling us with tax, he's drained confidence from business and families alike. It's not leadership, this is just complete managed decline. The country's paying the price for his mad Marxist ideology is a laughing stock, is a joke, and if Trump can send the special forces over here, please hurry up. Thank you. Have a great day.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, 6 minutes to 10. Julia here from 10 o'clock. Should be brilliant. Can I just say to Jeff, you've obviously got the wrong end of the stick. Samara Gill from Next Monday, our roving reporter, he simply texted and put, "Send Samara to my house." It's not meant to be like that. It's meant to be about things that matter. Julia, what does it mean to be British? I know what it used to mean to be British. Things like young men willing to sacrifice their lives fighting in world wars to give us freedom. Morning, Jez. Being British to me, says Sarah on the Wirral, means the words of land and hope and glory. How can we extol thee who are born of thee? To big up my country, not putting down. Linda says, morning, Jez. We all want to be British. They won't let us be British. He then talks about diversity. The British never asked for diversity. We were given it. Linda's in Stalybridge. Mark, being British, this is true, is about having a sense of humour, being able to laugh at ourselves, and Power, who, let's be fair, gives us enough material every day. Our sense of fair play and justice. Queuing, being proud of our history. Need I say any more? Barry, why do none of these bloody interviewers ever ask Starmer why does he know that he's the most unpopular Prime Minister in the history of the land? Brilliant. Morning, Jez. Great show as always. To be British is to be skint, to be cold, to be fed up to the back teeth, to give away everything, to be the back of the queue for everything, to hate the Prime Minister Pinocchio. And we have tickets for Peter Blakesley's show on March the 22nd. Where does that come from? Morning, Kim.
Hi Jeremy, it's Kim from Somerset here. Happy New Year to you. I'd just like to say that being British to me is always joining the queue and patiently waiting in line, helping your neighbours, being overly considerate of those around you, politeness, picking up the crisp wrappers in the local park, fairness, a love of animals, parents working themselves to the bone so their children can have better, and a good cup of tea. And I have to say, many of these traits are lacking in some of those coming to our country. And I think it's the lack of unifying values between us that's creating tensions and divisions. Thanks, Jeremy. Bye.
How lovely. Very posh she was, isn't she? Very posh. Thank you, Kim. Earlier on, people are craving me to play this again ahead of Julia coming in. Lillian, 70 years old from Birmingham. This is what she rang to say about Keir Starmer.
I'd like to say this Prime Minister is the most hated, despised, horrible, vile human being we've ever had. And let me tell you now, his priorities are letting terrorists into our country and paying criminals, murdering criminals, compensation, and giving these invaders houses, and we've got British people homeless on the streets. And he has no mention of protecting our borders. All he's got to do is put the Navy on the border, and that's the end of it. I can't stand this geezer. And let me tell you now, that I hope that Reform do what they say they're going to do, and their first priority is to get rid of this traitor and all his little companions out of government. And do you know what? Deport them and all.
Many people thousands will agree with what you're saying. The left would say, you're far right, you're a racist, you're disrespectful, you don't understand how these people suffer so much. What would you say to them, Lillian?
I'd say to them, I can't swear on TV, but I would say to them, get stuffed. And I'll tell you something now, I'm a patriot. If you want to call me a racist, call me a racist. I don't care. I love my country and I want to protect my grandchildren's future. And as it stands at the minute, Keir Starmer is not interested in the British people and their grandchildren and their future. And he's got to go.
I love her. That was Lillian earlier on. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Queen of Westminster, Julia Hartley-Brewer, who just said to me, did you have a nice Christmas? And I went, bloody children. She went, you keep procreating, man.
You do keep having children. Mine's 19. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
How was your Crimbo?
Crimbo was wonderful. Went to Thailand, Christmas, New Year. Very, very nice, yep. You know me, I love a rooftop terrace.
You do love a rooftop terrace.
I do love a cocktail at a rooftop terrace.
Did Mr. Hartley-Brewer, as I call him, did he buy you something nice?
We don't.
Oh, no, you're not one of them.
No, to be fair.
We don't do gifts.
We're not taking it away. I can't be bothered.
See, if I was married to you, I'd buy you flowers, I'd buy you everything.
Oh, well,
I would.
Well, there you are then.
Ted bought
but then would I have to have,
but your producer
would I have to have 6 children with you?
There's a thought, eh? Blimey, yes, you would, OK, but more of that later.
That ship may have sailed.
Maybe you could be the next expert.